The 16-year-old girl, Huan, who lived in a small coastal town, moved with her parents to a big city. While looking after her belongings downstairs, she was startled by the sound of a ball hitting a trash can, making a bird on a branch fly away, and unintentionally dropping feces on her head. It turned out to be the ball of a sporty guy named Shi-Chi. He stopped in front of Huan, reminding her to wipe the bird droppings off her head. He kindly lent his new neighbor a towel. Before Huan could even say hello, Shi-Chi had already run off. Even though she came from a rural area, Huan was very confident because she had won the Shui Star Award in her hometown. She was still young then, so she stuttered while accepting the award, making her classmates laugh. However, the 16-year-old Huan had learned from experience, preparing a speech for her new classmates. But before she could even read it, the teacher only gave a brief introduction, then seated her in an empty spot next to a classmate named Chi Li. The class monitor, Xin Yan, asked the new student where she transferred from. Huan said she was from Shui Town, but none of her classmates had heard the name. Only Shi-Chi knew Shui was on the western edge. Huan realized he was her neighbor. During class, Shi-Chi secretly put on earphones and slumped onto his desk. He opened his eyes and looked towards Huan, which suddenly flustered her. The next morning after school, Huan saw that all her classmates brought their own lunches. She asked Chi Li and found out that the school didn't have a cafeteria. Hearing that Huan didn't bring lunch, Chi Li took her to buy some because her own lunchbox wasn't enough for 2 people. Seeing her friend going out to buy food, Shi-Chi asked Chi Li to buy him a hamburger. Chi Li introduced Shi-Chi as the class deputy of arts and sports. She heard that students from the suburbs were all very good, so she asked Huan to help her with her studies. Huan quickly denied it, but Chi Li thought her classmate was being modest. After the first test, Chi Li was at the bottom of the class, while Huan was second to last. Huan apologized to her deskmate for letting Chi Li copy from her. Shi-Chi also apologized to his classmate for accidentally doing too well on the test, so he couldn't stand next to Chi Li. Just then, the teacher called all 3 students down to the office. He started with Chi Li. The teacher was impressed with her, copying all of her deskmates' wrong answers. Next was Huan. The teacher remembered her parents boasting about her good academic performance, but when it came to his hands, she had forgotten all the basic knowledge. Finally, it was Shi-Chi. The teacher praised his improvement. Seeing the smile on the teacher's face, Shi-Chi felt relieved. He promised to work hard so he wouldn't be at the bottom of the class. Downstairs, Huan tried to feign suffering to soothe her mother's anger. Unexpectedly, 2 spectators upstairs were quietly watching her play. Entering the house, Huan smelled roasted turkey and couldn't cry. She had to run into the bathroom, turning on the water while pretending to sob. Huan's mother, Li Na, told her daughter not to waste water if she couldn't cry. It turned out the teacher had called her before Huan came home. Instead of scolding, she thought that the city school taught more difficult material and that it was good for her daughter to have better classmates. She believed her mother's Shui Star wouldn't easily give up. After dinner, Mrs. Li took her daughter to her best friend's house, Yi Fan. Unexpectedly, Mrs. Lin's son was Shi-Chi. Just then, Mr. Jing came home, scolding his son for throwing smelly shoes everywhere, and then realized they had guests. Mr. Jing never expected the tiny Huan from back then to have grown so big. Mrs. Li said she brought her daughter to learn from Shi-Chi's experience. Mr. Jing thought Mrs. Li had found the wrong person because his son was only good at sports. Mrs. Lin quickly made an excuse, asking her 2 children to go wash fruit. In the kitchen, Shi-Chi left all the work to Huan. He wondered if her eyes were a bit swollen from crying. He kindly comforted her, saying he also often failed tests. Before Huan arrived, he inquired if she was close with Chi Li. Seeing her nod, he immediately announced to his parents that he would walk to school with Huan starting tomorrow. He also specifically asked his best friend, Song Kong, to tutor Huan. The next day, Huan, as soon as she jumped out the door, unexpectedly came face to face with Song Kong. She shyly greeted him, just as Shi-Chi came downstairs. He introduced Huan as his childhood younger sister. From now on, she would walk to school with him. Song Kong guessed Huan had helped Shi-Chi escape the last place ranking. She invited both of them to eat cakes made from vegetables her grandfather grew. Shi-Chi complained it wasn't tasty but stubbornly refused to give it back. On the way to school, Shi-Chi asked Song Kong to tutor Huan. Song Kong agreed, listing key points to review with both of them. Shi-Chi thanked his best friend and made Huan bow in gratitude to teacher Song. Hearing Shi-Chi dare to call him a junior, Huan tried to act like an older sister. Watching them bicker, Song Kong couldn't help but laugh behind them. Arriving at the school gate, Huan met her deskmate. She said she lived in the same complex as Shi-Chi and Song Kong. Chi Li had heard of Song Kong since middle school because he was truly outstanding. Chi Li invited them to eat cookies her father brought from abroad. Song Kong didn't eat, so he went back to class first. He was in the international class, so he went to a different building. Chi Li urged them to hurry because teacher Shu was teaching the first period. Shi-Chi sighed because the top student, Li Tan, would definitely raise his hand to show off again. Just as predicted, Li Tan actively raised his hand, but teacher Shu invited Huan to speak. Hearing her local accent, The whole class burst into laughter. Hu-an began to feel out of place among her classmates. After school, Shi-chi went to practice at the internet cafe. Song Kong came to remind his best friend that he had promised to review with Hu-an. Shi-chi made an excuse about being busy, telling Song Kong to tutor Hu-an first. Downstairs, Song Kong saw Hu-an trying hard to practice reading. He remembered classmates rumored that a country bumpkin in the regular class pronounced bone as snail, but her effort truly attracted a top student like Song Kong. He approached and invited Hu-an to his house. He said Shi-chi was busy practicing basketball and couldn't make it to tutoring. He lent her 2 tapes that could help her pronunciation. Starting to review, Song Kong always paid attention to Hu-an's expression to guide her promptly. He knew she was still shy, so he would proactively explain things. The next day in class, Hu-an realized she had accidentally picked up Song Kong's math notebook. Meanwhile, he went to see Vice Principal Fu to refuse participating in the Math Olympics. Vice Principal Fu objected because the international competition was full of masters, so the school could only send Song Kong. In the international class, her classmates all ignored Hu-an. Just then, she met Song Kong and returned his math notebook. A classmate came and told Song Kong that if he wasn't participating in the Math Olympics, he should give his spot to him. He told Hu-an that he had a test after school, so she should go home with Shi-chi first. However, Hu-an wanted to wait for Song Kong to finish his test so they could go home together. In the school restroom, Hu-an accidentally overheard classmates badmouthing her. They said she not only had a lisp but also dared to flatter the best student in school. Just then, Shi-chi spoke up, defending Hu-an. He warned his classmates not to think everyone else had as dark intentions as they did. He declared Hu-an was his friend, forbidding anyone from talking behind her back. He reminded his classmate Qin Liang to keep the rotten mouths in his class shut. In the restroom, Hu-an wiped away her tears and walked out to meet Shi-chi. He asked if she had heard everything they said. He began to tease Hu-an to help her feel better. Waiting for Song Kong to return, Shi-chi made his best friend atone to Hu-an. She quickly deflected, wondering why a bad student like Shi-chi was best friends with a top student like Song Kong. Shi-chi remembered someone once saying to respect the diversity of species. He went to practice basketball, telling his 2 friends to go home first. Downstairs, Hu-an made an excuse about being busy, so she wouldn't bother Song Kong with tutoring for now. Hu-an went upstairs to her apartment and received a notification that her mother had to work overtime. She answered her father's phone call, only pretending that everything was fine. Feeling down, Hu-an went to run around the basketball court. She received a call from Shi-chi. He was afraid Hu-an was in trouble because Song Kong said she wasn't happy. Hu-an said she was standing on the rooftop and felt the height was just right to jump. Shi-chi chuckled, telling her to jump slowly so he could come to her rescue in time. It turned out Shi-chi had seen Hu-an since she took her first step. Hu-an thanked him for defending her at school. Hearing her stomach growl, Shi-chi decided to be good to the very end. He took her to his and Song Kong's secret base. There, they raised a stray dog named Underling. Song Kong heard his mother say Aunt Lina had to work overtime at the hospital, so he brought food to Hu-an. Shi-chi introduced Song Kong's mother's cooking as the best in the complex. Hu-an tasted it, and it certainly lived up to its reputation. Shi-chi revealed that even his parents didn't know about this secret base. Just then, Mrs. Hao called Song Kong to get more food for Hu-an. She realized Shi-chi was ambushing her there, and thought she was crying because of a bad grade. She tried to explain, but he and Song Kong didn't believe her. Hearing Hu-an being polite, Song Kong said the whole complex was very close-knit. Shi-chi reminded Hu-an that if she moved to the apartment building for hospital staff, she had to adapt to their customs. If her mother worked overtime, she could freely go to other people's houses to eat. If anything urgent happened, she just needed to text 2 words secret base and all the brothers would gather. Shi-chi felt truly good about having another best friend in the complex. Early in the morning, Mrs. Lina rushed to work, so she didn't have time to cook for her daughter. Hu-an went to school with an empty stomach, fortunately running into Song Kong's lunchbox. Shi-chi reminded her to cherish it because tomorrow morning it would be his mother's turn to cook. It turned out that in the apartment complex for hospital relatives, parents would take turns cooking to help those busy with overtime. But Shi-chi's mother's noodles and Hu-an's mother's cakes were not warmly received. In class, classmates discussed Song Kong submitting his test early to go home with Hu-an. Chi Li, who harbored feelings for Song Kong, inquired about their relationship. Hu-an denied everything, saying it was just baseless rumors. She said Song Kong tutored her, which was why her math scores improved remarkably. Chi Li asked Hu-an if she could join the tutoring sessions with everyone. During dinner, Shi-chi invited Song Kong to play games. Hearing that his best friend had to tutor Hu-an, he criticized her for always having extra lessons and freeloading food. Mrs. Hao defended Hu-an, scolding Shi-chi for never proactively studying but always being the first to eat. Shi-chi was jealous because everyone sided with Hu-an. He deliberately drank Hu-an's cup of water, ruffled her hair, and made her wash it. Song Kong could only sit there, smiling foolishly, watching the bickering pair all day. Hearing Hu-an go downstairs to pick up Chi Li, Shi-chi finally calmed down. He secretly smiled, deciding to study at home with his friends. Mrs. Hao brought a plate of fruit for the children, then quickly left to play mahjong. Shi-Chi said that their mothers, along with Li Tan's mother, on the floor above, were just enough for a mahjong table. Chi-Li wondered why she didn't see them going to school with Li Tan. Shi-Chi said he was the principal's son, so he wasn't allowed to get lower grades. Mrs. Hao took the opportunity to show off that Song Kong was getting an English certificate to get into one of the top 5 universities in the world. Li Tan asked to return to his room. Mrs. Li told Huan to go learn from her friend. Watching Li Tan read an English book, Huan praised him for being so impressive. Li Tan reminded her to ask Song Kong if she had any questions, and to find Shi-Chi if she wanted to play. He knew his classmates didn't like him, so there was no need to force interactions. Just then, Song Kong came to call Huan for tutoring. Li Tan was lonely, befriending the pile of commendation certificates stuck on his wall. During class, Chi-Li remembered her mother had just scolded her for skipping piano lessons to hang out with bad friends. She said she wouldn't come to tutoring anymore because her mother had hired a private tutor. Her mother wanted her to go to the international class just because the tuition there was more expensive. Shi-Chi thought the aunt was right because students in the international class were good at studying and it was easier to go abroad. Huan wondered if all her classmates wanted to study abroad, meaning they already had their future planned out. Chi-Li confided that she wanted to be a writer. Song Kong hadn't thought about it yet, but his mother wanted him to go abroad. Huan wondered if a pre-planned life would truly be happy. Shi-Chi reminded her not to worry because Song Kong was a god of learning and naturally had to do great things. As for him, he would go to Real Madrid to play professional football. On the way to see Chi-Li off, Huan's shoelace came undone, but Shi-Chi was busy chasing after Chi-Li. He confided about his dream of going to Real Madrid, but Chi-Li didn't pay attention. Hearing him invite her to watch a football match next week, she refused because she didn't understand sports. But behind them, Huan secretly thought that Song Kong couldn't express his desires, while Shi-Chi's dream was considered whimsical. But at least they had goals, while she didn't know where she was going or if she was just standing still. Coming home, Huan saw a new suitcase and knew her father was back. Mr. Chen ran out to hug his daughter and asked Huan what level of martial arts she had reached. Mrs. Li reminded the two of them to quickly sit down for dinner. While on a walk, Huan asked her parents if they had any future plans for her. Mrs. Li said that their daughter could do anything or nothing at all. Huan said her classmates all had ideals. She, coming from a small county, should also have ambitions. Mr. Chen thought that life isn't a competition, just be happy. Meanwhile, Shi-Chi's father was practicing basketball with his son. As a firefighter, he wanted to teach his son perseverance. Sitting in the stands, Song Kong recalled that he had asked the teacher to transfer classes because Huan was right. This wasn't the life he wanted. Today, meeting Song Kong on the school grounds, Chi-Li congratulated him on achieving first place in the recent competition. Song Kong also congratulated her for her essay being chosen as a model text. Looking at Song Kong's back, Chi-Li remembered when she first started school, she was scolded by the teacher for writing off-topic essays. At that time, Song Kong appeared. He thought her essay was very good and only trusted his own judgment. That statement made Chi-Li feel happy for the first time, being understood by someone else. Waiting for Song Kong to come home, Mrs. Hao asked him why he requested a class transfer. She reiterated that she had planned for her son to study in the international class and then go abroad for college. Song Kong, for the first time, expressed his personal opinion that he didn't like studying in the international class and didn't need to get into a prestigious university. He didn't want his parents to pinch every penny just to send him abroad. He was determined to get into the best university in the country and not let his mother lose face. Mrs. Hao asked Song Kong if he thought she sent him to study abroad for her own glory. Song Kong knew his mother always sacrificed herself for him. She even liked walnuts the most but always gave them all to him. "But Mom, I don't need brain supplements anymore because I understand your sacrifice, so every day I work hard and follow every step you ask. However, have you ever asked me what I want to do? I don't like eating walnuts. I just want to be like Shi-Chi, finish school on time, and participate in extracurricular activities." Mrs. Hao restrained herself, asking what he wanted to study in the country. Seeing Song Kong unable to answer, she angrily threw his books out the door. At the secret base, Song Kong said he wanted to transfer to the regular class. He wanted to study medicine but didn't dare to tell his mother because she didn't like Song Kong being like his father, working hard all day in the hospital. Shi-Chi never expected Huan's casual remark to be so inciting. He welcomed his best friend to the organization whose dreams weren't supported by their mothers. He also believed that they had to decide their own future because parents couldn't live their lives for them. Huan saw her friends thinking big, while she still didn't know whether to choose humanities or sciences. After Song Kong left, Shi-Chi laid out a plan to mend the relationship within Song Kong's family. He would talk to Mr. Song, and Huan would be responsible for advising Song Kong. Meeting Mr. Song, Shi-Chi lamented that his teammate had a leg injury and his mother wouldn't let him play basketball anymore. He thought how great it would be if his father were like Mr. Song, always supporting his son's dreams. Mr. Song asked Shi-Chi if he had secretly been getting acupuncture at the traditional Chinese medicine clinic. Dr. Zhang, Mr. Song's friend, had told him everything about Shi-Chi's old injury. Mr. Song wouldn't tell Shichi's mother, but he had to come here for treatment. Meanwhile, Huan came to give Song Kong books. As a friend, she supported his decision to transfer classes, but she thought Song Kong should negotiate with his parents. Song Kong knew what he needed to do, but he had to let his mother calm down first. Just then, Song Kong answered Shichi's mother's call. He lied, saying he was tutoring Shichi. Huan wondered why Mrs. Lin wouldn't let Shichi play basketball. Song Kong thought the path to becoming a professional player was even harder than getting into a prestigious university. And besides, Shichi had been injured before. He remembered Shichi once said that if you truly like something, you allow it to hurt you. Huan greatly admired her friends, who had nurtured their own hobbies since childhood. Song Kong advised her to enroll in a talent class because it wasn't too late to start. In the evening, Mrs. House scolded her husband for using surgical tools to debone fish. She questioned why Song Kong wanted to transfer classes and also won first place in the Provincial Math Olympics. Wasn't he wasting someone else's spot? Mr. Song knew his son was like him. When he got excited about a problem, he couldn't stop. And if he wasn't careful, he'd get a perfect score. He whispered, telling his son to transfer to the regular class tomorrow. He remembered he used to be very brave too, so he advised his son to cherish his current single life. He went to the basketball court to meet Shichi. Huan clarified that Song Kong wasn't transferring classes because of her, but because of Shichi's determination to play basketball. He was proud that he was born to lead the spirit. He told Huan she could do something for him, guaranteeing success. Only now did Huan know that Song Kong had convinced his mother. Back home, Huan secretly thought Shichi wasn't as aimless as he appeared. His sweating figure on the basketball court was truly attractive. The next day after school, Shichi quickly went home to watch the game. Huan saw her shoelace come undone, thinking she was left behind again. Unexpectedly, this time he came back. Just then, Song Kong brought his books to his new classroom. Finally, he could finish school at the same time as his friends. Everyone's life has countless first times. The first time making a decision to change. The first time feeling moved. The first time going against their family's wishes. In truth, parents know they cannot stop their children from taking their first steps, because the naive children from yesterday have begun to decide their own lives. The next day in class, Xinyan wondered if the top student transferred classes because of Huan. Shichi affirmed that Song Kong transferred classes to sit at the same desk as him. The class monitor reminded Shichi to quickly complete the class's sports meeting registration list. As a result, the class deputy of arts and sports had to beg the girls to sign up for the sports meeting. Just then, Qin Liang came to challenge Shichi's class in the upcoming sports meeting. If anyone lost, they had to call the winner older brother. Since no one was willing to run the women's 1,500 mare, Shichi had no choice but to beg Huan. She immediately refused because she could only run a few steps. He ambushed Huan in front of her house. Shichi begged his younger sister to accept his sincerity and sign up for the women's 1,500 run. He even wrote a story based on a textbook illustration to encourage her fighting spirit. Huan couldn't escape Shichi even when she went to get water. Back home, Huan heard Mrs. Lin complain that Shichi had a knee injury, but still secretly played basketball. Mr. Song, fearing something might happen, gave Shichi's medical record to Mrs. Lin, because Shichi needed to rest from training for a while to fully recover. Closing the window, Huan saw Mrs. Lin not letting Shichi participate in the sports meeting. He pleaded with his mother, saying he was a poor student and the sports meeting was his only chance to prove himself. Moreover, he was the class deputy of arts and sports, and couldn't let the class lose in disgrace. Seeing Shichi's helpless eyes, Huan texted, agreeing to participate in the women's 1,500 run. Early in the morning, Shichi waited for Huan at the door, giving her a vegetable cake he made himself. Huan told Shichi not to reveal her participation in the sports meeting because her mother wouldn't allow it either. To turn Huan into a secret weapon, Shichi actively gave her intensive training. He even hung an orange in front of her for her to chase. Huan also wanted to challenge herself, to truly put in effort for once. On the day of the sports meeting, Song Kong proudly sat on the delegate's stand. Shichi disobeyed his mother and still signed up for the men's 800 meters run. As a sports prodigy student, he didn't want to disappoint his classmates. When it was time for the women's 1,500 meter race, the whole class cheered Huan onto the field. Shichi told her not to be stressed and just run at her own pace until the end of the track. Huan runs so well, winning first place without any trouble. That was Song Kong's cheer, especially for his best friend. The entire class 10 of 5 stood up and cheered in unison for Huan. She was very touched and wanted to strive hard for the class. However, 1,500 nor was not a short distance. Her classmates quickly caught up and passed Huan. In the last few seconds, she felt her heart clench. It turned out Huan had undergone a surgery before, but instead of giving up, she wanted to risk everything to prove herself. This was the first time she knew what she truly wanted. Although she didn't win, she completed the race. While Shichi was starting his next round, Huan couldn't hold on any longer and fainted. Song Kong quickly ran and carried her to the infirmary. The doctor diagnosed Huan with only low blood sugar. Qi Li remembered she was too nervous and didn't eat breakfast. Huan woke up and asked Qi Li to buy sanitary pads for her at the convenience store. Qi Li met Song Kong buying food for Huan. He urged her to give him the items to pay for everything at once. Qi Li found it hard to refuse and handed the sanitary pads to Song Kong. Meanwhile, Shi Qi quickly ran to visit Huan right after his competition. Hearing she was seriously injured, he demanded to carry her to the hospital. Huan had no choice but to confess she only had low blood sugar. Just then, the class monitor reported that Huan ranked third, helping to raise the class's overall performance to the top. Huan was overjoyed and wanted to go directly to receive the award. Shi Qi replaced the doctor, removing the needle for her. At the stadium, the whole class cheered Shi Qi and Huan's names as the pride of 10A5. A classmate from another class sarcastically remarked that 10A5 only won by sheer luck. Qi Li spoke up, asserting that class 10A6, known for many sports prodigies, didn't dare to admit defeat. Huan never expected a cool person like Qi Li to loudly refute the other class's taunts, and even a bookworm like Li Tan spoke up for the class. Bringing things to her mother, Huan accidentally revealed the injection mark on her hand. Mrs. Li reminded Huan that her health wasn't good, yet she dared to participate in the sports meeting. She guessed Shi Qi also disobeyed, secretly participating in the running competition. Shi Qi wondered why a calm person like Aunt Li became frantic when she heard Huan participated in the sports meeting. Back home, Huan looked at the scar on her head in the mirror. She went outside to read her friends carrying messages in the class 10A5 chat group. Meanwhile, Shi Qi threw a rock at the window across the way to check on Huan. She affirmed she was truly fine, but Shi Qi was still a bit worried, so he decided to ask his parents. Mr. Jing said that Huan was sick when she was little, so her health was a bit weak. Shi Qi realized Huan was trying so hard because she wanted to be like her friends. The next day, Song Kong brought breakfast and a box of candies to help Huan with her low blood pressure. Shi Qi reminded Song Kong not to discriminate because she wasn't a patient. Huan secretly thanked Shi Qi for using a joking tone so she wouldn't feel awkward. Meeting Qin Liang at school, Shi Qi brought up their bet. Qin Liang, a good sport, bowed and called him Brother Qi twice. In class, Teacher Shu announced that the school was organizing a book exchange activity. Each student would choose a favorite book and could write what they wanted to say on it for the recipient to read. At the bubble tea shop, Qi Li asked Song Kong what kind of books he liked to read. He said he didn't have a specific preference and just read a few good books randomly. Shi Qi said he was usually lazy to study but loved reading. However, Qi Li didn't pay attention. She invited Huan to her house to choose books. Visiting Qi Li's house for the first time, Huan was overwhelmed by how rich her friend's family was. Qi Li confided that her mother made her learn piano, but she only liked a small portable instrument so she could wander the world. In her private room, Qi Li revealed she bought many books because she liked the smell of new paper. She asked Huan to help her find out what kind of book Song Kong would choose. The next day, Huan showed off to her two male friends that she chose a neuropsychology book. She explained that this book explained how mental states affect subsequent actions. To help Shi Qi understand better, she gently pinched his ear. After each pinch, Shi Qi's reaction became more intense. She reminded him that he was young and needed to learn more. Shi Qi chased after her, thinking Huan deliberately pinched his ear. On the day of the fair, many boys used the excuse of giving books to express their feelings to the girls they liked. Girls competed to spray perfume on their books. Back at her seat, Huan wrote a sentence on the first page of her book. She said the book helped her understand the human brain. She hoped her classmate would find the book interesting to read. Below, Shi Qi carefully wrapped the book. In the reading room, he carelessly put Song Kong's book aside and took Qi Li's book. Unexpectedly, the class monitor caught him intentionally taking the book. Hearing Huan reveal Song Kong's choice, Qi Li searched and searched but still couldn't find The Catcher in the Rye. Just then, the bell rang for class, and Huan randomly picked the biggest book. She accidentally bumped into a classmate but quickly went back to class. Nervously opening the book, Huan was disappointed when it turned out to be a university exam collection. Li Tan wished her that if she received his book, she would get a perfect score in the most important exam. Hearing that the class monitor received The Catcher in the Rye, Qi Li realized that she also liked Song Kong. 3 days later, Shi Qi still couldn't understand Qi Li's book. Since the deadline for returning it was approaching, he asked Song Kong to write a few lines of feedback at the beginning of the book for him. On the day of returning the books, Qi Li secretly read The Catcher in the Rye. Huan couldn't find her neuropsychology book, so she borrowed her best friend's book to read. She discovered that the feedback written in it was exactly like Song Kong's handwriting. From afar, Shi Qi thought Qi Li was smiling happily because she understood his intentions. Returning to tutoring class, Qi Li announced that she had been promoted in rank, so she no longer needed a tutor. Shi Qi hadn't seen her score yet, so he bought her lucky fried chicken. Qi Li offered it to Huan because she had already been promoted, while Shi Qi continued to be at the bottom of the class. It turned out Qi Li worked hard to improve her grades to be closer to Song Kong. At the parent-teacher conference, Shi Qi avoided meeting his mother at school. Teacher Shu praised Song Kong for maintaining the best performance in his grade, and Hu An for making remarkable progress. In contrast, some students had fluctuating performances, up and down like blood pressure. He suggested Chi-Chi's parents should pay more attention to their son. Knowing his mother respected Hu An, Chi-Chi bought her bubble tea to coax her into coming home with him. Sure enough, when Mrs. Lin saw Hu An, she tried to suppress her anger, questioning her son why he was at the bottom of the class. Chi-Chi admitted his fault and invited Hu An to tutor him. Finally, he escaped his mother's wrath. Hu An looked at the pile of test papers on the desk and discovered that Chi-Chi intentionally performed poorly. Seeing him deny it, she threatened to tell Mrs. Lin. Chi-Chi had no choice but to reveal that he didn't want to do better than Chi Li. After hearing Chi-Chi's secret, Hu An didn't understand why her heart felt so heavy. The next day, Teacher Sai urged students to quickly complete the division selection forms. Everyone had to discuss with their parents because the division selection was related to choosing a university major later. Back home, Chi Li decided to follow Song Kong and choose the science stream. Just then, her mother came in and announced that she had already filled out the humanities stream form for her daughter. Chi Li blamed her mother for not respecting her and only wanting her to pursue her mother's law career. Chi Li's mother guessed her daughter was just going along with her friends' choices. She reminded Chi Li that friends were just passing acquaintances and couldn't be responsible for her future. If Chi Li stubbornly chose the science stream, she would send her abroad to study. Meanwhile, Hu An, based on her academic ability, decided to choose the science stream. Just then, Chi Li texted, complaining that her mother forced her to choose the humanities stream. The next day in class, Chi Li heard that those studying humanities were preparing to move to a new class. Seeing Hu An happily chatting with the class monitor, Chi Li felt a pang of sadness. Perhaps in the phrase class division the word division was more important, because the sudden separation was difficult for everyone to accept. At the end of the evening class, the class monitor asked everyone to stay to watch a video. It turned out Hu An had asked her classmates to send birthday wishes to Chi Li. For Hu An, Chi Li wasn't arrogant as she seemed, but very warm. She hoped that she and Chi Li would be best friends forever. Song Kong wished Chi Li to become the best version of herself. Every wish deeply moved Chi Li. She couldn't say anything more than thank Class 10A5 for giving her such a special birthday. The class monitor sent a message to the students who chose the humanities stream, saying that even though meeting opportunities would be fewer, 10A5 would always welcome everyone. On the way home, the three friends gave Chi Li a small instrument. Hu An hoped that Chi Li would take it with her in the future to freely pursue what she liked. Hu An, even if I switch classes I won't forget you. Chi Li wanted to hug each person as a farewell. She snuggled into Song Kong's arms, feeling his warmth. When it was Chi-Chi's turn, she thanked him for holding her things. During the summer vacation, the school organized a study tour for students. Chi Li returned to class to go with Hu An. However, Hu An thought Chi Li's mother wouldn't let her go, so she didn't save a spot for her best friend. Sneaking out to the park, Chi invited his friends to go boating. Hearing Xinyan accept to be in the same group as Hu An, Chi Li seemed displeased. Song Kong suggested dividing into groups of one boy and one girl to be safe. Hu An saw the class monitor wasn't feeling well, so she told her to go with Chi. Chi Li got on Song Kong's boat, while Hu An alone had enough strength to take on both teams. As the competition began, Chi, competitive, tried hard to catch up to Hu An. In contrast, Song Kong prioritized safety, calmly paddling his boat. Chi caught up, but carelessly bumped into Hu An's boat, making her fall into the water. He frantically pulled her back into the boat. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when Hu An said she was okay. Meeting Chi Li going to buy medicine for Hu An, Chi offered to go with her. Chi Li scolded him for being so competitive and told him to quickly go apologize to Hu An. When they met Song Kong, Chi Li made the excuse that she didn't know the way and asked him to take her to buy medicine. Chi realized that the person she liked wasn't him, but Song Kong. Buying oranges for Hu An, Chi apologized for being too competitive, which led to the carelessness. Hu An thought she was the one who should apologize for separating Chi Li from Chi. He didn't understand what Hu An was saying and fed her an orange. From afar, watching them happily together, Song Kong's eyes held a touch of sadness. But after this trip, each of them carried their own feelings, only Hu An still hadn't understood her own heart. At the start of the new school year, Hu An met Chi Li at the school gate. Song Kong wondered why Chi seemed distant from Chi Li. Chi said his soul couldn't empathize with anyone. Chi Li said goodbye to her friends because she had to go to another building for class. In class, Xinyan announced that the school was preparing to organize a cultural performance, so each class had to contribute one act. Chi raised his hand, signing up Song Kong to recite poetry. Another classmate suggested Chi showcase his artistic soccer skills, which would be less boring. Chi reluctantly agreed on the condition that Song Kong would join him. He remembered his best friend's wish when he transferred classes was to experience the diverse life of high school. Song Kong, speechless, had no choice but to follow the arts and sports deputy's arrangements. The class monitor asked some female students to do a rhythm dance to make the performance more special. Shi-Chi thought Huan, being good at martial arts, would surely know how to do a rhythm dance. The result was that Song Kong and Huan each danced to their own beat. Shi-Chi withdrew his suggestion because his two best friends truly had no talent for dancing. Seeing Chi-Li, Huan quickly went to greet her best friend. Just then, the class monitor asked Huan to go back to class to get the English assignment for the teacher. Chi-Li questioned Xinyan on what grounds she was asking Huan to do personal errands. Huan quickly said she didn't know how to dance, so she proactively took on odd jobs. Chi-Li, seeing her best friend defending someone else, angrily left. At the taro pastry shop, Huan waited and waited but didn't see Chi-Li. She was about to call her friend when her phone ran out of battery. Huan sadly went home and met her two male friends. It turned out they couldn't reach her, so they worriedly went looking for her all the way. Shi-Chi angrily threatened to tell Huan's mother. But on the way home, they were mugged by a group of thugs. While the thugs weren't paying attention, Huan kicked the one threatening Shi-Chi to pull him away and flee. Finally, they escaped the thugs' pursuit. Huan was afraid they would find them at school. Song Kong told his two friends to wait there while he went to buy adhesive bandages for Huan's foot. Shi-Chi complained that she pulled him so hard it left a red mark on his hand. Huan said she had to hold on tight so he wouldn't get lost. Shi-Chi affirmed that he was a sports prodigy. Why would he be afraid of three thugs? However, he admitted Huan was indeed very cool. She pretended to have a sore foot and made Shi-Chi repay her for saving his life. But when he touched her, she flared up in pain again. The next day, Teacher Shu heard Song Kong's report and told the students to go home immediately after school. He would call the police to catch the thugs loitering around the school. Meanwhile, Chi-Li, hearing the news, rushed to visit her friends. However, she saw them happily together, and the class monitor was also present. After the cultural performance party, Xinyan apologized for dancing the wrong moves. To make up for it, she invited everyone to get bubble tea. From afar, Chi-Li could only secretly watch them. Meeting Huan at the convenience store, Chi-Li heard her asking for advice from another classmate named Du-Man. Huan wondered if geographical distance would make two people drift apart. Du-Man believed that whether it was friendship or love, if one had to use every means to maintain the relationship, it was destined not to work out. Meeting Chi-Li, Huan directly asked, "Are you angry with me?" Chi-Li said she promised her mother she would rank in the top 10 in her grade. She told Huan not to invite her out anymore. "Huan, you and I are not from the same world. You have many friends, while I only have you." Huan, my friendship has a possessive desire. I originally thought we would be each other's only friends, but if not, I'd rather we just be old classmates in class. Huan quickly wiped away her tears, but her emotions didn't obey her. Du-Man, sitting beside her, handed her classmate a tissue to wipe her tears. To improve Huan's mood, Shi-Chi took his two friends to a book cafe. He noticed the relationship between Huan and Chi-Li had already cracked. He guessed Chi-Li was just jealous, so he let her calm down a bit. But since both of their mothers were working overtime, Shi-Chi invited them to his house for dinner. Just then, Li Tan's family passed by. Mr. Li blamed his son for getting low grades, while Li Tan blamed his father for not having intelligent genes. To rescue his friend, Shi-Chi asked Li Tan to compare answers with him. Inside the house, Huan realized the relationship between the three boys wasn't as good as she thought. Shi-Chi thought that since they were childhood friends, how could they hate each other? But ever since Mr. Li became the hospital director, Li Tan proactively left the group. Li Tan denied it, saying his friends ostracized him first. Huan invited Li Tan to join their study group, 2 good students tutoring 2 not-so-good students. Song Kong agreed and took the opportunity to ask Li Tan a few English questions. Hearing compliments from the best student in school, Li Tan was finally satisfied. The next day, Teacher Shu announced a farm work field trip. He assigned the arts and sports deputy to film the students' activities. In the countryside, everyone complained about digging in the soil under the midday sun. Coming from a rural background, Huan guided her friends on how to harvest vegetables. Shi-Chi quickly recorded Huan's instructions. He suddenly noticed Song Kong's smile towards her was a bit unusual. After working in the fields, the whole class cooked together. Song Kong, taught by his father to handle a knife, expertly deboned the chicken. Huan decided to show off her talent by stewing chicken for everyone to enjoy. After eating, the class monitor invited everyone to play Truth or Dare. Seeing Shi-Chi lose, she asked him which female classmate he most wanted to sit with. Shi-Chi affirmed he only liked sitting with Song Kong. When it was Huan's turn, Shi-Chi asked her who she liked the most in class. He pointed at himself, but she chose Song Kong. Just then, he came back from the restroom, revealing the smallest card. Xinyan quickly asked Song Kong who he liked the most in class. He apologized, saying he needed to go to the restroom again. In the vegetable garden, Huan looked for sweet potato roots to cure Song Kong's diarrhea. Shi-Chi quickly found some before Huan, but she said sweet potato roots weren't sweet potatoes, but a type of herb. Finally, Shi-Chi found the roots exactly as Huan described. Back at the dorm, Huan breathed a sigh of relief that Song Kong was okay. Xinyan asked Huan if Shi-Chi liked any other books besides The Catcher in the Rye. and explained that it was Song Kong's book. Shi-Chi just carried it to the reading room for him. It turned out that the person Xinyan liked was Shi-Chi. Xinyan asked Huan to draw a card. She said Huan's destiny was to be someone with ideals. The two of them looked very different, but their souls were incredibly harmonious. The class monitor called Duman over to read cards. Just then, the security guard came to check, so they quickly hid under the blankets and luckily escaped. The next day, the classes had a cultural exchange around a bonfire. Qili wanted to dedicate a song to the friend she always liked very much. This was also a song he often listened to. She hoped they would never say goodbye. Huan thought it was for her, but she realized Song Kong often listened to this melody. Beside her, Shi-Chi felt sorry for Huan, thinking she had a crush on Song Kong, but that morning he saw Song Kong with Qili. Knowing Qili wanted to see Song Kong, Huan and Shi-Chi quickly ran ahead. Song Kong realized Qili was still very nostalgic about the time she spent with Huan. She confided that distance could change people, and it was a bit hard to go back to how things were. Afraid Huan was sad, Shi-Chi secretly brought her snacks. He thought he had also experienced Huan's current feelings. He thought Song Kong was a bit cold but very approachable. Huan clarified that her feelings for Song Kong were pure friendship. He had diarrhea from eating the meal Huan cooked, which was why she rushed to find medicine. Shi-Chi criticized the class monitor for misleading them. He demanded his potato chips back because Huan had no feelings for Song Kong. Just then, Song Kong went looking for his two friends and found them happily together. Returning home, Huan guessed Qili was jealous because she was close with Song Kong. Huan texted Song Kong, informing him that she would temporarily study at home with her dad because Mrs. Lee had to work on New Year's Day and couldn't take her back to their hometown. The New Year's Eve dinner would also only be with her mother and herself because Huan's father had to stay with his training team. Just then, Mrs. Hao came to invite the mother and daughter to spend New Year's together. Entering Shi-Chi's room, Huan only saw Song Kong, so she felt a bit awkward. Shi-Chi came in, wanting to take Huan to broaden her horizons. Unexpectedly, it was the internet cafe. Huan sat watching a movie while her two male friends played soccer. After one round, Song Kong stopped playing. He texted Huan, asking why she was avoiding him. She decided to tell the truth, saying she didn't want Qili to misunderstand. Just then, Shi-Chi finished playing and invited his friends to set off fireworks. He remembered the principal's house always set off a lot of fireworks every year. So he texted Li Tan, asking him to steal some. Li Tan brought a box for his friends but didn't go with them, wanting to celebrate New Year's Eve with his family later. At the riverside, Song Kong told his two friends to stand back so he could show off his fireworks skills. Shi-Chi wondered how long Huan planned to avoid Song Kong. He didn't understand girls' thoughts, but pure friendship would last forever, and she didn't need to be afraid of others hating her and going against her own wishes. Watching the bright fireworks together, Song Kong shouted loudly, "Huan, everyone here is pure friendship, don't go astray." Shi-Chi also told Huan not to break the peace of the organization and to study hard together. The 11th grade year passed peacefully, but beneath the surface, strong currents surged. Preparing for the university entrance exam was like a giant monster devouring all the space in everyone's minds. They gradually realized how difficult it was to achieve their ideals. Going to borrow Huan's computer, Shi-Chi looked up sports university exam scores. Huan thought Shi-Chi had known what he wanted since he was little, saving him from detours. He suggested she could study pharmacy because she knew quite a bit about herbs. Inviting his two friends to the basketball court, Shi-Chi announced that he would represent the school in the inter-university football competition. Huan congratulated him, saying he was closer to his dream. She secretly thought that Song Kong, like herself, truly admired Shi-Chi for being able to calmly state his ideals. In the lab class, Shi-Chi had already mischievously finished before the teacher even gave instructions. During the practical session, the teacher discovered Huan truly had a talent for chemistry. Calling the student to the office, Teacher Xu, based on her scores and the chemistry teacher's praise, decided to send Huan to participate in the national chemistry competition. Just then, Li Tan came to change his registration form from English to math. Coming to Huan's house for dinner, Song Kong recounted that the hospital director made Li Tan change his registration form because his English presentation wouldn't get extra points. Shi-Chi remembered Li Tan had loved English since he was little. Hearing Huan wanted to help him, Song Kong told her to focus on her chemistry exam and let him and Shi-Chi handle it. On the day of the exam, Song Kong and Shi-Chi came to invite Li Tan to the exam. Song Kong said he had asked Teacher Xu for special permission for Li Tan to choose between the math and English exams. On stage, Li Tan confidently presented his dream. Standing backstage, Shi-Chi saw him as very cool for the first time. Song Kong wondered if Shi-Chi understood anything he said. Waiting for Li Tan to finish his exam, Shi-Chi asked him what he had just said. Huan, having finished her exam, rushed back to ask Li Tan about it, just coincidentally finding the three boys watching cartoons. Shi-Chi stammered out some English, inviting Huan to join them. The next day, the class monitor announced that Li Tan won first prize in the English presentation. Seeing his grateful eyes, Shi-Chi didn't need to hear a thank you back home. Huan told her mother that she would choose pharmacy as her major. She recounted that during her exam, she saw Du Man about to take traditional Chinese medicine and painkillers to suppress menstrual pain. Because she knew the two types of medicine couldn't be taken together, she stopped her classmate. Finally, Du Man passed the exam and even made it to the finals. Mrs. Lee made her daughter read through thousands of pages of pharmacy books before deciding on this major. During self-study hours, Hu An didn't know how Shi-Chi's competition was going. Just then, Qing Liang came to report that he was injured. At the infirmary, the coach said Shi-Chi was pinned down by an opponent. The doctor advised everyone to quickly take him to the hospital. Song Kong told Huan to go back to class and get her bag so he could carry Shi-Chi to the hospital. Waiting for Huan to arrive, Song Kong quickly reassured her. He said Shi-Chi had a hamstring injury, so it would be difficult for him to recover as before. Mr. and Mrs. Lin came out and told their 2 grandchildren to go home first because Shi-Chi didn't want to see anyone. Back home, Huan only knew to text Shi-Chi, asking about him, because she didn't understand the feeling of an athlete facing a leg injury. She realized that the more brilliant an ideal was, the more fragile it became. Meeting his parents, the coach praised Shi-Chi for truly having a talent for football. Because the school didn't offer professional training and Shi-Chi was too eager to prove himself, he carelessly got injured. However, some professional football teams had expressed interest in inviting him after he recovered. The coach hoped his parents could consider this. Visiting Shi-Chi, Huan accidentally bumped his leg. Shi-Chi cried out in pain, asking her to get him a painkiller. Huan wondered why he was so careless. Shi-Chi confessed that he wanted to win too much. Huan saw for the first time a usually cheerful Shi-Chi looking gloomy and hiding in sleep. To help Shi-Chi keep up with lessons, every day after school, Huan and Song Kong brought their notebooks to tutor him. Shi-Chi complained that no patient was as miserable as him. Song Kong threatened that if he didn't study, he would confiscate his phone. Finally, Shi-Chi was discharged from the hospital. Huan gave him a pair of tickets to the final match of the tournament. In the physical therapy room, Shi-Chi worked hard to recover, but his hamstring was still very painful. Meeting Huan, he confided that things weren't as simple as he thought. He used to understand because many great players had suffered very serious injuries. But Huan, his body seemed not to obey him. Perhaps heaven was warning him that he should have escaped a long time ago. That way, his parents wouldn't have to live in constant fear. Huan thought things were just starting. Shi-Chi had to be patient and trust his body. Shi-Chi agreed on the condition that Huan wouldn't visit him anymore, because the pain made him clearly understand what he was facing. He didn't want anyone to see his fearful appearance. On a bright sunny day, Shi-Chi returned to school. Instead of going to class, he wanted to go to the football field. He remembered he used to do pull-ups on the goalpost. Huan said the famous Barcelona player tore his ACL at age 17. He had to have 220 stitches and undergo 6 surgeries. Finally, at age 28, Baggio won the Best Player award in the Asian Championship Cup. Also, in 1999, Ronaldo completely tore his ACL. Instead of retiring, he recovered quickly and played even better in the season 2 years later. Huan took out sticky notes to read many other examples. Huan, thank you. Under the brilliant sunlight, Huan made Shi-Chi believe that if he still had the courage to start over, youth would never end. Confiding in his father, Shi-Chi remembered that since he had memories, he liked football more than his mother. He also said that being a professional player was his father's unfinished dream, so he wanted to fulfill it even more. Mr. Jing believed that Shi-Chi's mother loved her son too much, so she was very anxious every time she saw him playing football. Shi-Chi only now learned that his mother had secretly come to watch his games. Mr. Jing told his son that no matter what happened, he had to persevere to the end. Just then, Mrs. Lin came to pick up the father and son to go home. She said the coach of the youth football team had just called to inquire about Shi-Chi. She told her son to recover quickly and then come with her to greet them. Shi-Chi was moved, thanking his mother for supporting his dream. The next day, Huan waited to drive Shi-Chi to school because Song Kong was busy with a competition. She was afraid her best friend would have a sore bottom, so she installed extra padding on the back seat. Shi-Chi wore Huan's backpack and obediently sat on the bike. He complained that Huan's snail pace pushing would definitely make them late for school. But looking at her effort, Shi-Chi felt the sunlight suddenly become brighter today. After diligently recovering from his injury, Shi-Chi could finally run and jump normally. He wanted to intensify his training because he missed the smell of the football field too much. Huan teased him, offering to bring him grass to smell. From afar, Song Kong still quietly watched them. At the preliminary selection round for the youth football team, Huan saw the anxious look in Shi-Chi's eyes. She gave him the red string she had worn since childhood. She wanted to lend him all of her good luck. Shi-Chi told Huan not to worry, but he himself couldn't hide his tension. Starting the test, Shi-Chi focused and strived to overcome each challenge. In the judging panel, Coach Lee was very much looking forward to his students' performance. Mr. and Mrs. Jing put aside their work to cheer on their son. At the end of the test, Shi-Chi was proud of his final play. His parents came to greet the coach. Shi-Chi admitted that the red string truly worked. Huan lent it to him until the very last selection round. Back at the secret base, Song Kong congratulated his best friend on passing the first round of qualifications. Shi-Chi thought he performed better than usual, but was still far behind the other contestants. He was afraid that the gap would only grow wider. Song Kong thought they all studied at sports schools and received professional training. Shi-Chi passing the qualification round proved his ability. Song Kong believed his good brother would definitely never give up. In the end, Shi-Chi was not on the list of successful candidates for the youth football team. He thanked Huan String for helping him reach the final round. Huan quietly stayed by his side, giving him space. Meanwhile, Song Kong ran like the wind into the hospital. His father said his wife suffered a skull hemorrhage due to an incident in the emergency room. At that time, the patient's family was too agitated and demanded to rush into the emergency room. As the head nurse, Mrs. Hao went to intervene but was pushed, hitting her head against the side of a bed. Meeting Huan today, Song Kong confided that he grew up in the hospital and had witnessed many patients' families coming and going, but only today did he understand how they felt. Huan said she was very weak when she was little. She only remembered the smell of disinfectant strong in her nose and her parents' worried expressions. She believed Aunt Hao, like herself, didn't want to see her loved ones sad. He waited for Huan in front of her house. Shi-Chi inquired about Aunt Hao's condition. Only when he heard she was in the intensive care unit did he realize how serious it was. Just then, Song Kong returned to go to school with his friends. That day, they heard the whole class talking about Song Kong's mother. Shi-Chi pulled his best friend aside. Meeting Chi Li, Huan and Shi-Chi excused themselves to go first. Chi Li introduced her mother as a lawyer who could help Song Kong's family. Hearing Song Kong refuse, she hoped he wouldn't mind bothering her. The next day, Mrs. Hao finally woke up. Mr. Song said his wife had nerve damage, which affected the mobility of her right leg. He would take his wife to a city hospital for better treatment. Song Kong chased him downstairs, unintentionally seeing his father's silent tears. At that moment, he only knew to hide to avoid facing his father's helplessness and his own uselessness. At the secret base, Song Kong announced he would transfer schools to better care for his mother at the hospital because his father's work was very busy and he had to run back and forth between two hospitals every day. If he transferred to experimental high school, he could bring food to his mother daily. Huan thought they still lived in the same neighborhood, so they would still see each other often. After completing the transfer procedures, Song Kong didn't want to wake his friends from their nap, so he didn't go in to say goodbye. Li Tan ran out and gave Song Kong his subject notebooks. He told his friend to quickly catch up on studying to continue winning first place at his new school. Teacher Shu hugged him goodbye, wishing his student a quick and stable adjustment to the new school. Huan and Shi-Chi planned to meet Song Kong at home. Running out to see Song Kong off, Chi Li just quietly watched his back fade away. Sometime later, Mrs. Hao's health gradually improved. Huan and Shi-Chi were both happy, but the daily journey to school was no longer as lively as before. On the day Mrs. Hao was discharged from the hospital, all the neighbors came out to greet her. Seeing her son work hard to carry her upstairs, she told her husband to quickly ask the hospital director to change to a ground-floor apartment. Song Kong blurted out that he transferred schools to take care of his mother every day and didn't feel tired at all. Mrs. Hao was angry that both father and son dared to hide the school transfer from her. Mr. Song believed that Song Kong wanted to fulfill his filial duty, and moreover, he believed his son was capable enough to excel no matter where he studied. However, Mrs. Hao still blamed herself for making her son transfer to a less prestigious school. In the neighborhood, Huan prepared a pot of roses to give with Shi-Chi. Aunt Hao saw smoke coming from Aunt Hao's house window. They rushed upstairs and knocked on the door. Just then, Song Kong and his father returned and quickly unlocked the door. Mrs. Hao sent her two grandchildren away because she had burned the kitchen and unconsciously urinated on the floor. Song Kong felt sorry for his mother but could only quietly wipe the floor. The next day, the three families went on a picnic to see Shui Town to help Mrs. Hao improve her mood. Shi-Chi playfully put a sour kumquat into Huan's mouth. Mr. Jing scolded his son and then gave Huan a sweet kumquat to make up for it. Sure enough, he was indeed Shi-Chi's father, who only liked to tease others. Mr. Song quickly took a beautiful moment photo of Huan. Only Song Kong defended Huan, putting a sour kumquat into Shi-Chi's mouth. Seeing the parents happily taking photos, Huan felt that things were getting better. In the evening, Mrs. Li invited everyone to taste the fresh and delicious food from her hometown. Mr. Jing unexpectedly brought a cake to celebrate his wife's birthday. Mrs. Lin wished everyone good health, especially that their three children would achieve high scores in the university entrance exam. Shi-Chi gave his mother a surprise, a compilation of childhood photos of the three mothers. Early in the morning, Huan went out to breathe the sea air and saw Shi-Chi sitting on the roof. He wondered why she wished she was as strong as an ox. It turned out that when she was little, Huan used to write wishes on tiles. He accidentally read the second wish, which was not to make her parents sad because of her. Shi-Chi came down to get a pen to write wishes with Huan for when they grew up. Meanwhile, Song Kong took his mother to the seaside. Mrs. Hao held her son's warm hand, gradually regaining her faith in life. Returning to the city, Huan asked Shi-Chi to make a photo video to celebrate her mother's birthday. However, her parents only kept photos of their daughter and none of themselves from their youth. Shi-Chi remembered seeing photos of Aunt Lee in her youth in Song Kong's family album. He guessed that Mr. Song, who took photos for Aunt Lee, must have had a close relationship with her. The next day, Shi-Chi had compiled some photos of Aunt Lee from her youth. Hu-An now realized that her mother used to dress up quite a lot. She thought that children were what stole their parents' youth. Shi-Chi asked Hu-An, "If we become parents, will we be like them?" He was afraid Hu-An would misunderstand him, so he changed the subject. At the cake shop, Hu-An looked at a cake that was both beautiful and delicious, but seemed a bit expensive. She went into the shop and asked for the cake her father had pre-ordered. Seeing that the cake design was a bit old-fashioned, Hu-An wanted to switch to another type. She wanted to buy an extra slice of cake from outside, but the shop owner only sold whole cakes. The day before his wife's birthday, Mr. Chen came home to surprise his wife and daughter. Hu-An revealed that she had prepared everything and was just waiting for her mother to come home. Early in the morning, Mrs. Lee got off work. Coming home, she heard her husband blaming her for neglecting their daughter and letting milk expire in the fridge. She got angry because she had been working and taking care of their child all year as if in hell. Mr. Chen thought that he wasn't exactly enjoying being away from home earning money either. Hearing her parents argue, Hu-An quietly went outside and sat down, just as Shi-Chi came down to throw out the trash. He wondered why she was wearing pajamas and sitting in front of her house. Hu-An stammered that she came down to ask Shi-Chi to tutor her. He thought Hu-An was sleepwalking, so he pinched her cheek to wake her up. Hu-An had no choice but to confess that her parents were arguing, so she wanted to come to Shi-Chi's house to escape. Meanwhile, Song Kong received a message that Hu-An was in trouble and quickly flew to Shi-Chi's house. As a result, both of them were sleepy, only Shi-Chi was wide awake. Hu-An apologized for bothering them so early. She confided that her mother had just come home and argued with her father. Shi-Chi thought adults often argued. His parents' house was never peaceful either. Song Kong remembered his parents never argued because his father always unilaterally took the scolding. Shi-Chi discovered that Song Kong's father, when he was young, not only took photos for Hu-An's mother but also for his own mother. To surprise his wife, Mr. Chen hung a notice saying he was leaving home. But instead of crying into the house, Mrs. Lee chased after him, demanding her child back. As a result, the father and daughter ran away and had to endure their mother's wrath. The happy birthday party became noisy. Only when she saw the princess birthday cake did Mrs. Lee calm down. It turned out Hu-An decided to keep the cake design her father ordered. She gave her mother a photo album from her youth. And so, the storm of arguments passed safely. Hu-An realized that if the feelings for the other person were deep enough, they wouldn't shy away from arguments. Taking Hu-An to the secret base, Shi-Chi had a surprise for her, a piece of her favorite cake. It turned out Shi-Chi had bought a whole cake, giving a piece to Song Kong's mother and a piece to Li Tan to appease his father. Shi-Chi brought the remaining piece of cake back for Hu-An, leaving his two friends to pay. Even though it wasn't her birthday, Shi-Chi still urged Hu-An to make a wish. She was moved to tears. She ate a delicious piece and wanted to share it with Shi-Chi. They happily ate a single piece of cake together. On the way home, Shi-Chi quietly followed behind, secretly gazing at Hu-An's back. It started to rain, and they took shelter by the roadside. Back home, Shi-Chi heard his father was about to be transferred to Tonglin. Mr. Jing whispered to his son that the sports university there was very good, and he would wait for Shi-Chi. As the 12th grade year began, the atmosphere in the classroom became very quiet. Instead of noisy chatter, everyone was striving for their future. Since a classmate transferred to the art class, the teacher let Du-Man sit at the front desk. Shi-Chi asked the teacher for permission to sit next to Hu-An. He warned her not to disturb his spiritual connection with the teacher who assigned the problems. Hu-An advised him to study hard to have more options besides sports universities. The class monitor turned around and revealed she had found a special math class for 200 yuan per session. Hu-An also wanted to study but didn't have money. At the bubble tea shop, Shi-Chi calculated his wallet and gave Hu-An 200 yuan. He urged her to quickly go try the special math class and then come back and teach him. Hu-An, one of us two must at least pass. Hu-An took 100 yuan for tutoring fees and decided that from now on she would tutor Shi-Chi. He refused, saying he was too far behind and no one could save him. Hu-An challenged him, asking if he wasn't smart enough to understand her lessons. Sure enough, this move stimulated Shi-Chi's fighting spirit. They went home and studied for 3 hours straight. Shi-Chi was afraid he was wasting Hu-An's time. She said that teaching him was like reviewing her own knowledge. If he improved by 1 grade, he had to buy her a cup of bubble tea. Under Hu-An's guidance, Shi-Chi also began to strive for his future, but sometimes he still secretly read magazines and dozed off on her shoulder. Hu-An immediately jolted Shi-Chi awake, making him focus more. After every improvement, Shi-Chi bought his little teacher a cup of bubble tea. When Shi-Chi got all the problems right, they danced and celebrated together. Finally, he got used to the pace of studying, and even taught Hu-An how to use him as a pillow whenever she dozed off. Shi-Chi. In the evening self-study session, Hu-An couldn't solve the problem. She slumped onto her desk but couldn't sleep. He told her to close her eyes and secretly placed an earphone on Hu-An. The soothing notes, carrying Chi-Chi's warmth, made Huan cast aside all her study pressures. The next day, when she got home, she discovered that Chi-Chi had solved her homework for her. He texted her that if she did well on tomorrow's test, she had to treat him to a bubble tea. The next day, Huan waited and waited but didn't see Chi-Chi come down for school. She knocked on his door and called him, but to no avail. It turned out that unforeseen events often come without warning. Chi-Chi's father had sacrificed himself while rescuing people from a fire on the mountain. A lively person like Mr. Jing was now silent in a black and white photograph. In the rain, Huan looked into Chi-Chi's dazed eyes. She suddenly realized that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't save him. He seemed not to know how to face despair. In one short night, Chi-Chi was forced to grow up. Meeting Chi-Chi at the secret base, Huan gave him a bubble tea because her monthly test scores had improved. She intentionally added 200% sugar so he could taste the sweetness. Chi-Chi said he would return to school tomorrow. Huan secretly thought that bubble tea could add sugar, but the bitterness in Chi-Chi's eyes could not be lessened. He returned home. Mrs. Lin gave her son the application form for the sports university entrance exam in Tonglin. Chi-Chi remembered his promise to his father, and tears streamed down his face. At the competition, the burning fire in Chi-Chi's eyes was the same fire that had consumed his father. However, his efforts still couldn't overcome the injury in his leg. He couldn't get into the sports school. Confiding in Song Kong, Chi-Chi wondered why he truly put in effort but still had regrets. He said that the night the incident happened, it wasn't his father's shift. Only because he had an appointment with the sports school coach to ask for his son's admission did his father switch shifts. Song Kong, if I hadn't been so stubborn, my father wouldn't have had that accident. I will light up my family in place of my father. On his father's birthday, Chi-Chi's room still had its windows tightly closed. Football and his family had all left him. If he opened the window, sunlight would shine in, but that natural light couldn't illuminate his tightly shut heart. Finally, Huan waited for Chi-Chi. He gave her back her music player because he had to focus on exam prep. There were still over 100 days until the university entrance exam. Some classmates exhibited unusual behavior. Li Tan studied as if chanting scriptures. Xinyan prayed to many deities for blessings, but the most unusual person was Chi-Chi. He turned into a learning machine to temporarily forget his loss. Even the teacher couldn't stop it, which helped him continuously move up in rank, but he still refused to rest even a little. On New Year's Eve, Mrs. Li had to work overtime, so she told Huan to go play with Chi-Chi. However, he was busy finishing all his homework for the Lunar New Year holiday. Huan got an idea to invite Song Kong to Duman's house to buy beer. She showed her ID card to prove she had passed her birthday and was of legal age. Going to Chi-Chi's house, Song Kong had barely drunk half a can of beer before falling asleep soundly on the floor. Huan asked Chi-Chi, "Are you really okay?" He confided that even in his dreams, he couldn't imagine having to be separated from his father forever. While helping Song Kong onto the bed, Huan felt a little dizzy and dozed off beside him. Huan. When she woke up, she didn't see Chi-Chi. Hearing the phone ring on the desk, Huan accidentally read Chi-Chi's journal entries. It turned out he had always blamed himself for causing his father's death. Huan ran around frantically looking for Chi-Chi. Huan. Chi-Chi's voice rang out. She continuously scolded him for going out without his phone. Chi-Chi, I was so scared when I opened my eyes and didn't see you. It turned out Chi-Chi knew Huan liked fireworks, so he went to buy them for her. Huan. I'm sorry. I won't let you not find me again. Chi-Chi lit fireworks to comfort Huan. But even she didn't know why she couldn't stop crying. She only knew that Chi-Chi was truly important to her. His joys and sorrows greatly affected her mood. Huan, because of you, everything will definitely get better. Even though exam preparation had entered the final sprint, Chi-Chi's condition finally improved. He learned to balance studying and resting, and his grades continued to rise, even surpassing Huan's. Waiting for Huan in front of her house, Chi-Chi wouldn't let her go to the English tutoring class. Instead, he took her to a more effective class, the cinema, where they could relax and practice listening. Seeing Huan laugh happily, Chi-Chi stared at her, dazed, and was caught by Huan. He made the excuse that she looked very much like a character in the movie. Li Tan reminded the back row to be quiet. Unexpectedly, they were classmates. He wondered if Huan and Chi-Chi were dating early. They quickly explained that they were there to practice listening to English. Time flew by, and winter gradually passed. When the leaves turned green again, the shadow from Mr. Jing's passing also gradually faded. Every day for Chi-Chi and Huan, although filled with solving problems and rote memorization, felt safe within their routine. On the last evening of self-study, the school suddenly had a power outage. Seeing the students calmly turn on their study lamps and continue studying, Teacher Shu told them to put their pens down. Dear students, over the past 3 years, I've made each of you solve countless test problems and memorize countless standard answers. However, life has no standard answers. Life isn't like a formula. It's best not to copy it exactly. One exam may affect your future, but it cannot decide your entire life. No matter the outcome, each of you must strive hard and leave no regrets. In the darkness, everyone felt a mix of emotions upon hearing Teacher Shu's admonitions. There were smiles, and there were tears. They stood precariously at the threshold of life, yet also steadfast in their ideals. On a drizzly day, the university entrance exam was very tense. Everyone cherished every moment to snatch an opportunity for their future. After finishing the university entrance exam, Shi-Chi urged Huan to pack up her old books so he could sell them for money to organize a party. He found an old notebook containing a childhood photo of Huan. Seeing her looking fierce, he was sure no one would like Huan. She introduced the boy in the photo, named Xiao Yu, as her best friend from Sishui. He was handsome and adorable, known as the Sishui hot boy, and moreover, he would visit Huan today. Running down to block Xiao Yu's path, Shi-Chi introduced himself as Huan's best friend. Just then, she arrived to pick up Xiao Yu. To annoy Shi-Chi, Huan kept praising Xiao Yu's handsomeness. Shi-Chi reminded his best friend that girls should be a bit more reserved. Huan remembered she even used to sleep in the same bed as Xiao Yu. At dinner, Huan quickly took a seat so Xiao Yu could sit next to her. She also kept serving food to Xiao Yu, which greatly annoyed Shi-Chi. Hearing Aunt Li invite Xiao Yu to stay for a few days, Shi-Chi invited Xiao Yu to sleep at his house. Anyway, Shi-Chi is fine. He's also a boy, Mrs. Li chuckled, wondering why it would be inconvenient for Xiao Yu to stay at the aunt's house. Shi-Chi knew Huan was tricking him, and quickly excused himself to leave first. He waited for Huan to come over. Shi-Chi blamed her for daring to trick him. Huan blamed him for saying she wasn't feminine, so no one would like her. Hearing Song Kong call him blind, Shi-Chi regretted planning to invite him to get rich. He revealed he planned to launch the first used book exchange website, and he would first list their 3 university entrance exam study materials for sale. Song Kong and Huan both supported Shi-Chi's entrepreneurial idea. Gathering at the bubble tea shop, everyone discussed where to go out. Li Tan wanted to see an action movie, but Xin Yan preferred romance films. Shi-Chi suggested going to an internet cafe, where the girls could watch movies and the boys could play games. Seeing a photo booth, Xin Yan dragged her friends to capture their youth. When it was Huan's turn to take a photo with Song Kong, Li Tan deliberately chose a heart-shaped frame for them. Shi-Chi ran in to join the photo, but awkwardly walked out afterward. Huan accidentally saw photos she had taken with Chi Li. Meanwhile, Chi Li sadly returned to the taro pastry shop. She reminisced about the most beautiful days of her youth, which were spent playing with Huan. Chi Li. Huan's familiar call made Chi Li burst into tears. On the day of checking university exam results, Huan was overjoyed with 602 points. Mr. Chen suggested his daughter choose pharmacy at Wuhan University. Huan thought many universities in other provinces were better. Mrs. Li had no choice but to use a suffering ploy, unable to bear being apart from her daughter. Huan coaxed her mother, agreeing to apply to a university in the province. At the secret base, Song Kong wanted to apply to Tianhe University. Shi-Chi remembered Song Kong still preferred medicine at Peking University. And besides, Aunt Hao was much better and Mr. Song was taking care of her. Huan advised Song Kong not to compromise with his mother and give up his dream of studying medicine. Song Kong heard his friend gather courage to talk to his mother. Seeing her son's shy face, Mrs. Hao announced her support for her son applying to the medical faculty of Peking University. It turned out she had long discovered Song Kong secretly reading his father's medical books. She stood up by herself to prove she could take care of herself. She didn't want to be a burden. "If you stay, Song Kong, you are my mother's pride. Your world is vast. It cannot just be this house with a fairly high score." Shi-Chi planned to apply for computer science at Peking University. He wanted to ask his mother for her opinion, but she trusted his choice. In the last moments, everyone was unsure how their school choice would affect their future path. They only listened to the voice from the bottom of their hearts. Shi-Chi remembered Huan would apply to Wuhan University, so he decided to delete his Peking University application. On the graduation trip, the 3 girls unexpectedly found out Shi-Chi organized a mountain climbing trip. They were already out of breath halfway through. Huan called the boys, but no one answered. It turned out they arrived early to prepare a surprise for the girls. Finally, the 3 girls reached the destination, but the surprise fireworks weren't enough to make up for their exhaustion. As a result, they also had to clean up after the boys. Xin Yan complained that she spent 2 hours doing her makeup just to come here for hard labor. Sitting down to chat, everyone talked about their choices. Xin Yan applied to study pedagogy in Subei. Li Tan studied medicine in Shanghai. Song Kong studied medicine in Beijing. Chi Li studied law in Beijing, and Huan studied pharmacy in their province. Hearing Shi-Chi applied for computer science at Peking University, Huan felt a bit disheartened because she was the only one staying here. While her friends were choosing movies, she offered to cook for everyone. Shi-Chi followed to help Huan. She picked a strand of hair out of the batter just as she sneezed. Seeing Shi-Chi dare to laugh at her, Huan threatened to put batter on his face. Shi-Chi blocked her, accidentally pulling Huan closer. He awkwardly urged her to quickly put on an apron. Huan asked him to tie the strings behind her. In this moment, in Shi-Chi's eyes, there was only Huan. Just then, her friends came down to help. At dinner, Hu An shaped the food according to everyone's preferences. Qi Li's rabbit bun, Xin Yan's flower bun, Song Kong's mighty Doraemon bun, Li Tan's elephant bun for courageously pursuing dreams, and Shi Qi's dogbone bun. Hu An admired her friends for being able to choose universities out of province. She hoped that no matter how far apart they were, they would always be friends. Everyone raised their glasses to a happy graduation. Drunken Li Tan revealed that he could see through everyone's thoughts, but only he, being intelligent, would never fall into the trap of love. Confiding privately in Shi Qi, Song Kong said he always tried to get what he wanted, but this time he hesitated because Shi Qi was his best brother. Song Kong warned Shi Qi, "Do you like Hu An?" Shi Qi was startled, because Hu An was just his good friend. He thought that even if he liked someone, it couldn't be her. Song Kong said that if Shi Qi didn't like Hu An, he would go find her. Shi Qi was about to chase after him when Xin Yan coincidentally came to find him. Meanwhile, Qi Li confessed to Hu An that she liked Song Kong. However, Hu An had realized it long ago. Qi Li wondered if Song Kong and Shi Qi both fell into the water. Who would Hu An save first? Hu An thought she would save the person closest because they were all her good brothers. Just then, Song Kong ran out, wanting to talk privately with Hu An. "Hu An, I like you. In my eyes, you're always the most special person. I don't want to be Doraemon. I don't want to be good to everyone, because I only want to be good to you alone." Hu An apologized, saying she only considered Song Kong a best friend. Inside the house, Xin Yan also confessed to Shi Qi. Hearing his blunt rejection, she cried and ran out of the house. That night, everyone started to worry about their romantic lives. They increasingly understood Li Tan's saying that intelligent people never fall into the trap of love. Back home, Hu An received her acceptance letter from Wuhan University. Hearing that Shi Qi also just received his acceptance letter, she felt a sudden disappointment. Hu An texted to congratulate Shi Qi on getting into Peking University. She arranged to meet him at the secret base. Nearing their meeting spot, Shi Qi saw Hu An watering plants. Just then, Song Kong arrived to congratulate her on getting into Wuhan University. Seeing Hu An's embarrassed expression, he hoped she wouldn't avoid him anymore. He apologized for drinking too much that day and being a bit impulsive. "Hu An, can we still be friends?" "Song Kong, give me some time to sort things out." From below, Shi Qi overheard their conversation and implicitly guessed Song Kong's feelings. He texted that he was busy and missed his appointment with Hu An. 3 days later, Hu An still couldn't find Shi Qi. Seeing him online, she texted to ask how he was. Shi Qi invited her to the secret base. Waiting for Hu An to arrive, Shi Qi gave her the money from selling the books. Hu An wondered if he called her out just to pay her. Shi Qi made the excuse that he had been busy taking care of the book-selling website recently. He don't kogap kohan or trung dai hak, kathe gait diet chaming. Huan yir tam ser ming kong nursa kakbant. Before parting, she wanted to hug Shi Qi goodbye. Looking at her sad back, he cracked a mysterious smile. The next day, Hu An said goodbye to her parents to go register for university. Even though her daughter was studying in the same province, Mrs. Li still couldn't hold back her tears, seeing her daughter leave her embrace for the first time. As soon as she arrived at Wuhan University, Hu An texted to ask Shi Qi if he had arrived in Beijing yet. She couldn't pull her suitcase up the stairs when, just then, Shi Qi appeared. He introduced himself as a freshman majoring in computer science at Wuhan University. Instead of being overjoyed, Hu An was not very happy, as she had been sad throughout the entire summer vacation. In front, a senior named Tan Qi came to greet Hu An. He introduced himself as being 1 year above her at Tianhe High School No. 1. Hearing that the senior wanted to take Hu An to the dorm, Shi Qi was about to refuse for her, but Hu An wanted to ask the senior for help. Tan Qi remembered meeting Hu An in the school library once. At that time, he came to borrow a neuropsychology book, which he still hadn't returned. Hu An realized the senior was the one who borrowed her book. Back at the dorm, Hu An got acquainted with her roommate, Huang Lu. Seeing her misunderstand Tan Qi as her boyfriend, Hu An quickly explained he was a senior. Just then, another friend named Chu Li came in to get acquainted with everyone. Huang Lu treated everyone to specialties from her hometown. She said their other roommate was a bookworm who went straight to the library after entering school. Meanwhile, Shi Qi was warmly welcomed by his roommate, Zhou Ye. He called Song Kong, informing him that he got into Wuhan University. Song Kong guessed Hu An, like himself, was more startled than surprised. He advised Shi Qi to go apologize to her. He walked past the sports field and saw the girls cheering for a handsome boy playing football. She glanced over and immediately recognized Shi Qi's passionate demeanor from the past. Seeing Hu An, he quickly ran over and asked her why she hadn't replied to his messages. She made an excuse about being busy and threw him a bag of medicine his mother prepared for him. That evening, pictures of Shi Qi playing football spread throughout the school forum. Female students voted him the new male heartthrob of Wuhan University. At the student exchange event, Hu An met Tan Qi again, but she focused only on eating and drinking because the grilled skewers and beer were very good there. At a nearby table, Zhou Ye recognized his roommate's childhood friend and took a photo, sending it to Shi Qi. He received the message and quickly ran to the event. Seeing her passed out drunk at the table, he asked to help his best friend leave early. Just then, Chu Li had to go to the restroom, so she entrusted Hu An to Shi Chi. Hearing Hu An say the stairs were the dormitory, Shi Chi made her get on his back. He blamed her for being foolish and getting drunk with strangers, causing him to worry. Hu An admitted she was foolish to be tricked by him for so long. Hearing him still grumble about her getting drunk, Hu An told Shi Chi not to worry about her anymore. He said that if it wasn't for Aunt Li asking him to take care of Hu An, he wouldn't care about her at all. Hu An angrily wanted to go their separate ways with Shi Chi. He didn't want to argue with a drunk person, so he carried her back to the dorm. After a night of heavy drinking, Hu An officially began her university life. She never expected Shi Chi to be in the same general education class as her. When it was Chu Li's turn for roll call, Hu An had to fake her voice to cover for her roommate. When it was Huang Lu's turn, she had to change her voice again, and then it was her own turn. The teacher discovered Hu An was representing 3 people in class. He decided to mark all 3 students absent for the period. Shi Chi chuckled and texted to tease Hu An. After class, Hu An asked Zhou Ye if she had done anything inappropriate last night. Shi Chi knew she didn't remember, so he demanded compensation for medical expenses. Zhou Ye came to greet Hu An and asked for her phone number. Shi Chi stopped him, telling Zhou Ye not to worry about Hu An. He invited her to check out the club recruitment drive. Zhou Ye met Shi Chi. A senior named Du Wei invited him to join her team for the department's computer competition. Zhou Ye heard that the competition team members were all excellent students. Seeing that both Zhou Ye and Shi Chi were interested, Du Wei invited both of them to the meeting. Shi Chi told Hu An to go ahead a bit, and he would come find her. On club day, Hu An coincidentally met Tan Chi. He took the opportunity to help her choose a suitable club. Hearing that Hu An knew martial arts, Tan Chi suggested she sign up for the sports club. Meanwhile, Shi Chi finished his work and ran to find Hu An just as he saw her sitting with Tan Chi. Seeing them grow closer, he felt increasingly uncomfortable. At Peking University, Chi Li waited for Song Kong to finish class. She heard that the medical school had a movie theater, so she asked him to take her to see a movie. Chi Li took the opportunity to reminisce about old memories with Song Kong. She said he was the first person to acknowledge her essay. In that moment, she felt very satisfied because she only needed one person to empathize with her. Song Kong still remembered that essay because her use of words gave him a feeling of freedom. Chi Li revealed that she now replaced flowery language with a simple writing style. She thought it was like loving someone and acting precisely on that focus. At the sports club meeting, the team leader, Da Lin, called on members to sign up for performances at the freshman welcoming ceremony. Since no one volunteered, he assigned Hu An to prepare a martial arts performance. A few days later, Hu An actively nourished Shi Chi so they could practice martial arts together. Unexpectedly, Du Wei, the president of the Performing Arts Club, decided to cut Hu An's martial arts act. Shi Chi wondered why Hu An put so much effort into it, only for the senior to say to cut it? Du Wei thought martial arts performances were a bit outdated. Students at the campus festival preferred street dance and music. She asked Shi Chi to represent the sports club and assist the organizing committee of the festival. Hearing him refuse, Du Wei subtly hinted that Da Lin would report it to the student council president. Hu An told Shi Chi to follow the senior's instructions to avoid affecting the club. Da Lin was angry because Du Wei had been suppressing him for 3 years. He got an idea to continue performing martial arts at another location. He entrusted all responsibility to Hu An to lead the club in regaining its glory. At the festival organizing committee, Du Wei personally measured Shi Chi's costume. He knew that martial arts were very outdated to the senior, but he thought she shouldn't easily dismiss others' efforts. Hu An learned martial arts from her father. Uncle Jing was a coach who took the team to compete both domestically and internationally. For them, martial arts was life and honor. Seeing Hu An troubled by the martial arts performance, Chu Li revealed that Du Wei wanted revenge on her ex-boyfriend, which was why she cut the sports club's performance. It turned out that 3 years ago, Du Wei chose Da Lin to host the student festival, and then the two fell in love. This year, she chose Shi Chi to host, so she definitely had intentions towards him. Hu An thought she should worry about herself first. A top student named Hui Xin suggested Hu An could make self-defense for women the theme of her martial arts. The next day, Da Lin borrowed an old warehouse to open a self-defense group for women. He made an excuse about being busy to hand over all responsibilities to his juniors. That evening, meeting Hu An distributing flyers, Tan Chi thought her idea was very good, but the advertising method was not appealing. He knew a bit about design, so he wanted to give her a hand. At the festival organizing committee, Shi Chi was memorizing his script. Just then, Tan Chi brought Hu An back to the office. Seeing her casually playing with others, he instinctively felt uncomfortable. Du Wei came to rehearse lines with Shi Chi. Reading the line "Love someone with all your heart, regardless of success or failure," Shi Chi couldn't help but look towards Hu An. That evening, visiting Hu An, Shi Chi bought her stewed chicken. He asked her if she needed any help. Hu An said Tan Chi was helping with the design and calling for sponsors. Shi Chi told her not to easily ask the senior for favors, or she might owe him. Hearing she also asked Huang Lu for help, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Shi-Chi decided that after hosting, he would come to be Huan's punching bag. Just then Tan-Chi also brought food for Huan. Shi-Chi took Tan-Chi's offering on her behalf. He thought eating fried food at night wasn't good, so he put it aside. At the student festival, Dewey gathered the organizing committee for a commemorative photo. Seeing the senior link arms with him, Shi-Chi quickly pulled away. Meanwhile, the women's self-defense group only had 2 students. Huang Lu showed Huan a public photo on Dewey's personal page. Just then, Tan-Chi brought some male students, asking for Huan, the instructor, to guide them. At the beginning of the class, Huan stated that many female students were sexually harassed, but they dared not speak up for fear of being criticized by others. Therefore, she wanted to teach them some basic self-defense techniques. Zhou Ye volunteered to demonstrate and was instantly knocked down by Huan. Hearing Zhou Ye cry out in pain, the only 2 female students quickly withdrew. Huan sat down on the ground in disappointment. Just then, female students poured in to sign up for the class. In a situation where a bad guy hugs from behind, Huan asked the senior to demonstrate. As Tan-Chi hugged Huan, Shi-Chi appeared. The smile on his face suddenly vanished when he saw her in someone else's arms. He thanked Tan-Chi, but said he had promised to be Huan's punching bag. Starting the drill, Shi-Chi gently hugged Huan from behind. Unexpectedly, she stomped on his foot, punched his stomach, and hit his head. Shi-Chi quickly regained his composure and bravely faced the next moves. Finally, the drill ended. To thank him, Huan invited everyone to eat. Just then, Shi-Chi received a call from Dewey and excused himself to leave first. Meeting the senior, Shi-Chi recalled that he had changed the hosting script to an advertisement for the women's self-defense group. Dewey quickly told someone to drag him out, but many female students found it interesting and left the student festival to go to the sports club and apologize. The senior, Shi-Chi, was willing to bear all responsibility. She said she had explained to the student council president. She called him there only to express her feelings through a song. Shi-Chi pretended not to understand and invited everyone from the performing arts club for a meal. The next day, at the sports club, Shi-Chi noticed Huan wearing lipstick. She said she had a dinner date with Tan-Chi, so she had to get ready a bit. Shi-Chi wanted to go along, but Huan remembered he had a later class, and besides, the senior invited only her, not Shi-Chi. Coincidentally, Dewey came in and invited Shi-Chi to go see a movie with the performing arts club that evening. He agreed to provoke Huan. After dinner, Tan-Chi received 2 movie tickets from the student council, so he invited Huan to go with him. She remembered Shi-Chi was also going to see a movie with the senior, so she accepted. At the cinema, Shi-Chi didn't see the other members. He was about to make an excuse to leave when he coincidentally met Tan-Chi and Huan. While watching the movie, Shi-Chi secretly only looked at Huan. Dewey thought the junior was looking at her, so she invited Shi-Chi to eat popcorn. Huan saw them happily eating popcorn and immediately became jealous. Back at the dorm, Zhu Ye gave Shi-Chi an injury spray bottle. He thought Huan gave it to him, but unexpectedly it said, "To Shi-Chi inside." Seeing Zhou Ye dare to use it, Shi-Chi demanded it back and ran to find Huan. Meanwhile, Huan watched the video of Shi-Chi bravely advertising for the women's self-defense group. She realized that the sudden influx of new students signing up was all thanks to him. Just then, Shi-Chi called and invited her to an interesting place. However, since he hadn't yet gone to Sishui to see the sea with Huan, he took her to temporarily admire a swimming pool instead. He even prepared 2 yacht models to play with her. Huan reminded Shi-Chi, "This childish way of pursuing an older girl will definitely fail." He complimented her on knowing how to date. After happily eating popcorn with Tan-Chi and hearing Huan say she was jealous, Shi-Chi made the excuse that he was just looking after her for Aunt Li. Huan thanked Shi-Chi for ruining the student festival for her. The next evening, Shi-Chi was playing a game when a senior called him downstairs. Unexpectedly, she was preparing to confess to him. Shi-Chi didn't want to embarrass the senior, so he changed the meeting location. From afar, Huan witnessed the confession, thinking he would accept the senior's offer, but Shi-Chi refused. Dewey wondered, "Do you already like someone else in your heart?" Seeing him shake his head, she thought those involved often didn't understand clearly, because if 2 people were too close, they wouldn't be able to clearly see each other's place in their hearts. Back at the dorm, Shi-Chi recalled the moments he spent with Huan. He wondered, "When did I unconsciously close the distance between us?" The next day, in class, Shi-Chi heard Huang Lu discussing Huan's date with a senior. Just then, Tan-Chi waited for Huan after school, but Shi-Chi said nothing and turned to leave. At the library, Tan-Chi helped Huan get a book from a high shelf. Their hands gently touched, making him want to get closer to her. Huan quickly avoided him, making the excuse that she needed to find another book. At Peking University, Song Kong met his other roommate, who was also the top scorer for the Medical Academy entrance exam, named Xing Yi. He was very surprised because he was only 15 years old. He also discovered that Song Kong's notes had errors. Song Kong felt inferior to others for the first time. Meanwhile, Shi-Chi heard Zhou Ye say he saw Tan-Chi on a date with Huan at the library. The next day, Shi-Chi made the excuse that he was busy playing football to refuse eating with Huan. In Beijing, Qi took Song Kong to see an art exhibition by a friend. Seeing her radiant in the crowd, Song Kong looked at Qi for such a long time for the first time. Seeing Song Kong lost in thought in front of a painting, Qi thought he liked the goddess Venus. He denied it, saying he was looking at the statue's muscle structures. Stepping outside to chat, Qi wondered, "Is Song Kong having academic problems? Because I see he's different than before." Song Kong admitted he increasingly felt inferior to others. Qi said, "In ancient Greece, there wasn't just one Venus statue, but only the one missing 2 arms became a pinnacle in art history. Song Kong, the world is inherently imperfect, and humans always have flaws. It's not just you, everyone is like that. Like me, I decided to switch from law to literature. I believe that as long as I persevere with my choice, no matter what difficulties I face in the future, they won't stop me. So don't think about it too much, just close your eyes and move forward. And everything will pass." Dewey came to the football field to find Shi-Chi. Huan blamed him for not answering her phone all day. Looking at her best friend's dazed eyes, Huan asked, "Are you heartbroken?" Shi-Chi patted his chest. "Because I have many people pursuing me." Hearing her ask about Dewey, Shi-Chi said he had refused the senior. He questioned back, "Why does Huan like someone as boring as Tan Chi?" She thought she wanted to try once to know what kind of person she liked. He advised, "Huan, even if you want to try, it shouldn't be Tan Chi." Just then, receiving a call, Huan quickly apologized to the senior for forgetting their evening appointment. Before leaving, she unexpectedly hugged Shi-Chi. "I know today is your father's birthday." He waited for Huan downstairs at the dorm. Tan Chi wanted to seize the opportunity to express his feelings. "Huan, every time I see you, I get very nervous. I intended to let my feelings develop naturally because there's still a long way to go, but I realized I was wrong. I know there's always an important person in your heart. I just regret that person isn't me. I'm returning the book from years ago because it never belonged to me." Huan thanked Tan Chi for his sincerity. "I truly hope you find the happiness that belongs to you soon." Hearing that Huan refused the senior, Shi-Chi specifically bought her cake. He had anticipated it because Huan had once refused Song Kong, and how could Tan Chi compare to Song Kong? Shi-Chi was curious. What kind of guy does Huan really like? She said she didn't have an ideal type. Just then, Huan received a message from Qi saying she would visit her friends with Song Kong during the holidays. Shi-Chi booked a room in the mountains for their friends to gather. While waiting for the room, Song Kong inquired, "When are you going to confess to Huan?" He had already noticed Shi-Chi liked Huan a long time ago. Shi-Chi admitted his feelings, but was afraid of failure and then not even being able to be friends. Meeting Shi-Chi alone, Huan got an idea to help bring Qi and Song Kong together. They pretended to get sprayed with water all over and told Song Kong to take Qi mountain climbing first. Going into Huan's room, Shi-Chi discussed the plan, arranging for Qi and Song Kong to share a room. He was certain. A single man and woman in one room will be a spark for love, Huan thought. It's not guaranteed that feelings will develop just by being in separate rooms. Shi-Chi described, "They can feel each other's breath, silently together without planning. And that's when love comes unexpectedly." His very words came true for himself. Shi-Chi and Huan, without planning, fell silent together, lost in each other's eyes. Shi-Chi awkwardly invited her out for a walk. Meanwhile, Song Kong followed Qi up to the mountaintop. They watched the mist intertwine with the tree leaves below the ancient town. Huan decided to temporarily halt the plan to put Qi and Song Kong in the same room. Seeing Huan cold, Shi-Chi both grumbled about her wearing thin clothes and gave her his jacket. As a result, Shi-Chi caught a cold, apologizing that he couldn't celebrate Song Kong's birthday with him. Hearing Shi-Chi urge everyone to go have fun, Huan understood his plan. She asked Qi to organize Song Kong's birthday so she could stay and take care of Shi-Chi. Waiting for them to leave, Huan pulled Shi-Chi up. Unexpectedly, he really had a cold. She worriedly rushed to make him a cold remedy porridge. Shi-Chi told Huan to remember to add a lot of preserved eggs, and then sprinkle a little pepper for flavor. By the time the porridge was ready, Shi-Chi had fallen asleep. Huan breathed a sigh of relief as his fever had gone down. Seeing Shi-Chi's hand, Huan wanted to try and touch it to determine her feelings. The moment her hand lightly brushed his, she wanted even more. Huan took Shi-Chi's hand and closed her eyes, feeling the moment. So many memories together flooded her mind. "Me, Huan, what are you doing?" Huan quickly pulled her hand back, blaming Shi-Chi for proactively taking her hand. He thought it was true, so he made the excuse that he was dreaming of asking for points. Hearing Huan urge him to eat porridge, Shi-Chi playfully wanted her to feed him. Huan, embarrassed, quickly ran out of the room. Shi-Chi thought he liked Huan so much that he even wanted to hold her hand in his dreams. Meanwhile, Qi gave Song Kong a medical stethoscope. She believed he would definitely become an excellent doctor. As Song Kong put on the stethoscope, Qi placed it on her own heart. In that moment, he heard her heartbeat and also knew his own heart was fluttering. While Song Kong was guiding her on how to listen, Qi couldn't control herself and unexpectedly touched his lips. "Song Kong, Your heart is beating very fast right now. Could it be that you like me too? Back at the hotel, everyone organized a belated birthday celebration for Song Kong. Shi-Chi gave his best friend a box of coffee to help him stay awake during exams. Huan gave Song Kong an anatomy book. Around the campfire, the four friends raised their glasses to celebrate Song Kong's birthday. As the new semester began, Huan and Shi-Chi were both engrossed in piles of homework. She met him again at the library. Just then, a senior named Fu Ying called Shi-Chi out to talk. She knew he owned a book exchange website and proposed developing it into a profitable system together. Back at the dorm, Zhou Ye revealed to his roommates that he had just bought advanced math exam papers from a senior. Since Shi-Chi was the best student in the room, he asked his roommate to solve the problems. Meanwhile, Hui Xin heard Huan complaining about advanced math and took out a set of exam papers. Huan immediately recognized Shi-Chi's handwriting when she saw the solutions. Chu Li guessed Shi-Chi liked Hui Xin, which was why he gave her the exam papers. Hui Xin was afraid her friends would misunderstand, so she confessed that Zhou Ye gave her the papers. In front of the members of both rooms, Hui Xin announced that she had been dating Zhou Ye since last month. Huang Lu wondered why Hui Xin used to say she only liked smart students. Chu Li thought love didn't need standards. Zhou Ye agreed, determined to study hard for his girlfriend. He saw that Shi-Chi only now gave him the exam papers. Huan blamed him for not being sincere. Shi-Chi said he was afraid Huan wouldn't do well on the exam, so he stayed up all night solving problems, but he thought these exam papers weren't reliable, so she still had to review thoroughly. In Beijing, Song Kong met Qi Li. He wanted to answer her question from the mountain. Qi Li, I've thought a lot since returning from Guzhen. I've confirmed that the flutter I felt that day was truly genuine. Qi Li. Let's date. Qi Li smiled happily and nestled into her boyfriend's arms. Finally, she had waited for Song Kong's love. Qi Li joyfully called Huan to share the good news. After hearing about the incident on the mountain between them, Huan immediately told Shi-Chi, thinking Song Kong had overstepped with Qi Li. Shi-Chi called his best friend, scolding him for being many steps faster than him. He told Song Kong to treat Qi Li well, and didn't forget to call his best friend a scumbag. On the day of the advanced math exam, Zhou Ye regretted spending 500 yuan on fake exam papers. Hui Xin apologized to her friends for giving them fake exam papers to study. Huang Lu didn't blame Hui Xin, only asking her to tutor her if she had to retake the exam. As a result, the top student still ranked first, while Zhou Ye lost 500 yuan and still failed the subject. Huan was okay with 76 points, but what she didn't expect was that Shi-Chi got a perfect score in advanced math. No matter the exam results, it was just the prelude to university life. Everyone happily welcomed the Lunar New Year holiday. Back home, Huan hugged her parents tightly. She gave her mother a red scarf and her father a blue scarf, both knitted by herself. Mrs. Li was moved because her daughter had grown up and was thinking of her parents. In contrast to Huan's family, Qi Li was scolded by her mother as soon as she returned home for arbitrarily changing her major. She thought she was just trying to do what she wanted. Mrs. Qi questioned if her daughter was using the family's money to do what she wanted. Qi Li promised to earn money for her own tuition. She had grown up, so her mother was no longer her guardian. Mrs. Qi asserted that children had an obligation to support their parents, and that what Qi Li owed her could never be repaid in a lifetime. Qi Li told her mother to go ahead and sue her, then left the house. Meanwhile, the three families in the residential complex gathered around the New Year's Eve dinner table. Just then, Qi Li came to stay with Huan's family for a few days. Hearing Shi-Chi bicker with Huan, Mrs. Lin thought the two children were very compatible. Mrs. Hao said she had long since approved Huan as her daughter-in-law. Mrs. Li Na clarified that the choice rested with her own daughter. Qi Li unexpectedly stood up and announced that she was dating Song Kong. Mr. Chen understood and made space for Qi Li to sit next to her boyfriend. Back home, Song Kong and Shi-Chi found their best friend a bit strange. Song Kong confided that he felt a bit awkward about Qi Li publicly announcing their relationship in front of his mother. Just then, Mr. Song came in to talk to his son. He heard that Song Kong had a girlfriend, and told him he had to be responsible for his choice. If he truly liked her, he should bravely pursue her. If they were together, he had to cherish it. He absolutely shouldn't worry about gains and losses, because it would do more harm than good. He hoped his son would learn to love himself and others. Meanwhile, Huan asked her mother if a daughter should take the initiative if she liked someone. Mrs. Li thought that meeting the right person wasn't simple, so if you found them, you had to try to seize them, because taking the initiative to pursue love wasn't shameful. The next day, Song Kong took Qi Li to see a movie. He wanted to be a good boyfriend, but in his first relationship, mistakes were unavoidable. Qi Li confided that just being able to hold his hand tightly was enough for her. Song Kong revealed that both his parents supported him dating Qi Li. On New Year's Eve, her maternal grandmother came to celebrate New Year's with Huan's family, but a storm suddenly hit when Huan read a message from her mother. The doctor said you have to get a tumor biopsy after the Lunar New Year meeting Shi-Chi at the secret base. Huan told him her mother had a tumor. Shi-Chi reassured her, as they didn't know if it was benign or malignant yet. Seeing Huan's trembling hands, Shi-Chi truly empathized with her. Back home, Huan saw her maternal grandmother looking at the album she made for her mother. Her grandmother hugged Huan, then said that everything would be alright. In this moment, Huan realized that she and her grandmother were sharing a secret. Her grandmother was a mother, someone willing to pretend not to know so her daughter wouldn't worry about her. At the hospital, Shichi brought food for Huan. She said tomorrow her mother would have surgery to remove the tumor and then a biopsy. Shichi gently hugged the trembling, tearful Huan. After the surgery concluded, the doctor announced that the tumor had been removed. Based on his experience, the doctor guessed the tumor was benign, but they still had to wait for the biopsy results. A few days later, Mrs. Li was discharged from the hospital. Seeing how capable Shichi was, she thought he would be a suitable son-in-law. Mr. Chen believed that Shichi surely had many girls pursuing him, so he would only remain good friends with Huan. The next day, Huan wanted to buy a diamond ring for her mother, in her father's place. She never expected such a small stone to be worth so much. Hearing a couple about to get married buy one for 100 yuan, Huan criticized it as ugly to retreat with her friends. At the bubble tea shop, Shichi ordered 3 glasses of plain water. Huan blamed herself for being naive, thinking that collecting all her New Year's money over the years could buy a diamond ring for her mother. Receiving a message from Qi Li, Song Kong excused himself to leave first, also wishing them a happy Valentine's Day. Meeting his girlfriend, Song Kong gave her a pair of pea-shaped earrings he strung himself. Qi Li asked her boyfriend to help her put them on, then secretly stole a kiss from him. She also gave a gift to Song Kong, but told him to open it only when he got home. During the holiday break, Qi Li took Song Kong to meet a friend. Hearing Song Kong studied medicine, his friend, Da Zhao, advised him to open a private clinic abroad. Song Kong thought public hospitals were quite good. Da Zhao chuckled, saying he wouldn't earn money there. Their friend Wen Wen gave her best friend a luxurious pair of earrings. Qi Li was delighted, but Song Kong felt out of place. After eating, Da Zhao made Song Kong treat them, since he had conquered Qi Li. Wen Wen stopped him, but Song Kong also wanted to invite everyone. However, the bill exceeded his ability to pay, forcing him to use his credit card. Meanwhile, Huan took Shichi to a bakery to order 2 hot chocolates. He remembered the school taught students to strive for good schools to have a better life, but he realized life wasn't that simple. Huan reminded Shichi not to make excuses to skip class. He advised her to treat him well, or else she'd have to celebrate Valentine's Day alone later. Huan clarified that Shichi was also single. Hearing him suggest that if they were both single, Huan immediately added that they might as well eat discounted ice cream for couples. Back home, Song Kong looked up Qi Li's gift and realized a men's shirt cost 80 yuan. Meeting Qi Li, Song Kong returned the gift because it was too expensive. She thought money was just a number. What mattered was the sincerity. And besides, she also received the earrings he made himself. She told him to accept it for now, promising not to give expensive gifts next time. Meanwhile, Shichi received an invitation from Huandao Technology Company. The Wuhan branch manager, Jiang Sen, highly praised Shichi's used book exchange website. He offered 2 options. 1. The company would create an identical platform to compete with Shichi. 2. The company would provide capital and technology for Shichi to operate his current website and share commissions. Shichi agreed to consider it and would contact them later. A semester passed very quickly. During the break, Huan took her parents to take wedding photos. All 3 families in the residential complex came to attend Huan's parents' wedding. Mr. Chen admitted he was crude and not romantic. Ever since his wife fell ill, he had always pondered how to become a better husband. Finally, he still had to rely on his daughter's idea. "Lina, all these years I've owed you a marriage proposal. Lina, will you marry me?" Finally, Mr. Chen managed to make up for the biggest regret in his wife's life. In this moment of happiness, Shichi looked towards Huan, who was the owner of his heart. He knew his mother would miss his father. Shichi gave her a bouquet of purple roses. He said purple roses symbolized eternal love, and that no matter where his father was, their love would always exist. While on a walk, Shichi blamed Huan for daring to hide her parents' proposal plan. She coaxed him not to be angry, saying she didn't hide it on purpose. Shichi smelled a fragrance, thinking Huan had sprayed perfume. She denied it and then smelled him. Seeing Huan shyly pull back, Shichi pulled her closer. She suddenly felt a slight itch in her nose. But he didn't want to miss this opportunity. Their lips gently touched, marking their first kiss as claimed. Huan smiled and leaned gently on Shichi's shoulder. She thought the scent he smelled was pheromones, a scent attractive to a lover. He led Huan home. Shichi temporarily let go to wipe his sweat. He shyly took her hand again. Huan wondered, "Was that our first kiss just now?" Shichi affirmed he had never dated before. She saw he was quite skillful, so she thought he was used to it. He explained that he watched many romantic movies, so he accidentally learned from them. "Huan, are we a couple now?" Huan denied it. "Because you haven't even properly confessed to me yet, Huan. I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" Before Huan could answer, her father called her into the house. He knew the 2 children were good friends, but told them not to talk too passionately. Back home, just as Shichi called Huan, his mother suddenly entered the room. Seeing him dare to hang up first, she was so angry she couldn't speak. Shi-Chi urged his mother to go to bed early, then quickly texted Hu-an. He affirmed that he was very serious just now. "Hu-an, will you agree to be my girlfriend?" Hu-an replied. "Good night, boyfriend," Shi-Chi wished back. "Good night, my girlfriend." Both were overjoyed to officially escape singlehood. Shi-Chi was so happy he made his bed collapse. Early in the morning, Shi-Chi went to visit his girlfriend. Seeing him with a backache, Hu-an invited her boyfriend to sit down. He wondered where he should sit. Hearing her speak as before, Shi-Chi objected because his identity was now different. Mr. Chen unexpectedly came in and asked, "What are you two whispering about so early in the morning?" Shi-Chi clarified, "We're just discussing some opening day matters with Hu-an." Mr. Chen took the opportunity to ask Shi-Chi to keep an eye on Hu-an, telling him not to let any boy get close to his daughter. Waiting for her father to leave, Shi-Chi quickly closed the door. He felt like a gray wolf stealing the very thing he was supposed to be guarding. "Hu-an, temporarily keep our relationship a secret from your parents, but you should still tell Song Kong and Chi-Li." Shi-Chi chuckled, because he had already boasted about it last night. Meeting at the bubble tea shop, Hu-an was naturally close with Shi-Chi. Seeing him shy, she thought Song Kong and Chi-Li wouldn't be surprised anyway. Song Kong affirmed that the whole world knew they liked each other. He revealed that Shi-Chi had liked Hu-an for a long time but never dared to confess. Hearing Hu-an say she was going back to school tomorrow, Chi-Li complained that she couldn't buy couple tickets with Song Kong. Hearing he was in carriage 12, she wanted to use her business class ticket to exchange with the person sitting next to him. Song Kong thought it wasn't necessary, but Chi-Li thought it wasn't worth much money, as long as she could sit with him. Hu-an quietly asked if Chi-Li's mother hadn't already blocked her card. Mrs. Chi said she sold some handbags, so she still had money left over. Waiting for her daughter to return, Mrs. Chi said she had read Chi-Li's online work. Although her views were a bit old-fashioned, she admitted her daughter had writing talent. If Chi-Li wanted to pursue literature, she advised her to go abroad, because studying literature not only required talent, but also vision and broad knowledge. She believed that studying abroad could nurture Chi-Li's works. If she only kept writing online, Chi-Li would gradually lose all her love for literature. She hoped her daughter wouldn't have regrets when she decided to pursue her dream. Zhou Ye saw his girlfriend off to the dormitory. Shi-Chi showed his strength as a boyfriend, able to lift her suitcase very lightly. Hu-an thought they could reveal their relationship to their roommates. Just then, Zhou Ye also brought Hui Xin back to the dormitory. He brought some local specialties, so he invited the girls to the boys' dormitory for a hot pot meal. Hu-an accepted, figuring the worst that could happen was getting scolded by the dorm manager. She reminded Shi-Chi to remember to clean his room thoroughly. He affirmed that his room had never been dirty. However, reality was not as easy as speaking. Shi-Chi immediately assigned tasks. If anyone didn't complete them, they wouldn't be allowed to copy his homework anymore. As a result, the dorm manager specifically welcomed students back to school. Shi-Chi thought that if the three girls disguised themselves like that, no one would recognize them. Coincidentally, a classmate greeted Hu-an. Huang Lu bravely stepped forward. She glided like the wind, not giving the manager enough time to clearly see her. Shi-Chi led the group, deliberately distracting the manager. Finally, the three girls successfully entered the boys' dormitory. Shi-Chi whispered to Hu-an that they would reveal their relationship in a bit. Sitting around the hot pot, Zhou Ye continuously served food to his girlfriend. Hu-an and Shi-Chi both thought the opportunity to go public had arrived. He eagerly served food to Hu-an, and she kept praising how delicious it was. However, no one paid attention to them. Finally, someone noticed Shi-Chi and Hu-an had matching profile pictures. Shi-Chi was about to joyfully announce it publicly, but Huang Lu thought they accidentally had matching pictures. Shi-Chi wondered why everyone didn't think he and Hu-an were dating. Everyone burst into laughter. They thought that if the two of them liked each other, they would have dated a long time ago. Moreover, Zhou Ye remembered that Shi-Chi liked mature, older girls. Shi-Chi quickly clarified that it was completely a rumor. Huang Lu was certain that even if Shi-Chi had feelings, it was only unrequited, because Hu-an wasn't interested in the childhood friends-to-lovers trope. She remembered playing a love game last year, and Hu-an chose the domineering CEO type. Hu-an quickly explained it was just a game, so she just picked randomly. Shi-Chi decided he would officially announce their relationship, but before he could finish speaking, the electricity suddenly went out. The dorm manager discovered someone was using high-power electricity and went to check the rooms. Everyone frantically cleaned up to welcome her. The manager came in to check on them. Hu-an hid in Shi-Chi's blanket, taking a few seconds to breathe. Huang Lu was in Yan Mu's blanket, just as her roommate farted. The manager noticed a pink-socked foot sticking out from Shi-Chi's bed. He said he had a slightly special preference. Although it was a bit awkward, they managed to fool the manager. Meeting at the bakery, Shi-Chi and Hu-an complained that their friends didn't believe they were dating. Shi-Chi looked around and saw one couple feeding each other and another couple kissing. Hu-an thought they shouldn't do that in public, but it was fine in private. To create private space, Shi-Chi and Hu-an both requested to be on duty at the club on Wednesday afternoon. He shaved and sprayed on fragrant cologne, while she put on lipstick and practiced how to kiss skillfully. Today, waiting for Huan to arrive at the club, Shi-Chi gave her a red rose. He also arranged seeds to spell out the word love. They awkwardly tried to touch each other's lips, but Huan stopped him, saying she didn't feel anything. Shi-Chi also admitted the situation was a bit strange. Huan got an idea to stand close against the cabinet. She saw it in movies, so she called her boyfriend to pin her against the wall. Seeing Shi-Chi had no experience, Huan proactively pressed herself against him. Shi-Chi wouldn't give up and wanted to try again, but looking at his face, she couldn't help but laugh. He blamed her, saying that the more she did that, the more he couldn't do it. Shi-Chi told his girlfriend to close her eyes so he could focus better. It worked. Shi-Chi couldn't resist Huan's lips. He moved closer, just as Zhou Ye walked in, saw him messing up the word love, and carelessly walked away. Shi-Chi was speechless with anger. Holding hands and entering the sports arena, Huan wondered when Shi-Chi started liking her. Shi-Chi didn't remember exactly. He only knew that from the first time he met Huan, he was very impressed with her. Huan revealed a small secret. She confessed that when they were on the mountain, she proactively held his hand. Shi-Chi unexpectedly pulled Huan closer. Coincidentally, the lights flickered off, and he didn't hesitate to place a sweet kiss on her lips. Their friends rushed out to congratulate them on becoming a couple. It turned out they had known about Shi-Chi dating Huan all along. Shi-Chi was startled, and quickly pulled his girlfriend away. In Beijing, Song Kong had to go to a bar to pick up his girlfriend. Even though she knew her boyfriend was studying for exams, Chi Li still whined and made him drink a glass with her. After Song Kong finished drinking, Chi Li still wanted to stay and play. At this moment, Song Kong suddenly felt it was difficult for him to fit into her world. Taking Chi Li home, Song Kong told his girlfriend to sleep well so he could go back to study for his exam. Chi Li didn't want him to leave. She doubted Song Kong's love because she saw him treat Huan very differently. Song Kong, I once saw how much you liked Huan. Song Kong admitted he once liked Huan so much that he lost himself. Now that he was more mature, he realized that way of loving wasn't right. Chi Li, I always try to treat you well to be worthy of your feelings, but you say I'm doing it wrong, so what exactly should I do right? Song Kong Chi Li remembered him once saying that when you like someone, you shouldn't change yourself, but he only liked her after she changed. In front of Song Kong, she always had to put on the appearance he liked. Song Kong, would you like the real me? I'm someone who constantly says I love literature, but I write nonsense on a low-quality web novel site for a few extra bucks. I'm someone who says I don't rely on my family, but I sell handbags my mom bought to save some face. I'm someone who wants an equal love, but I have to be careful about every little thing in front of you. I'm weak and vain. Would you still like me? Song Kong knew Chi Li wasn't like that. She was sensitive but had a kind heart. She was a person with ambition and a desire for freedom more than anyone else. Chi Li sent him away so she could be herself. Song Kong recalled his conversation with Shi-Chi. He was willing to put in all his effort to give Chi Li a better life. However, the career he pursued might never meet her current living conditions. He once thought that love only required sincere feelings, but he realized that the feelings he gave to Chi Li simply couldn't overcome family and social connections. During the holiday, Shi-Chi and his girlfriend went home. They lingered, unwilling to part, even though their houses were only a few steps away. Seeing Shi-Chi's mother, Huan quickly let go of his hand, pretending to praise his well-developed muscles. Back home, Mrs. Lin taught her son that a man must be responsible. She had long since noticed Shi-Chi's feelings, as he revolved around Huan constantly since high school. The next day, Huan, taking advantage of her parents' absence, went to visit her boyfriend. She said that ever since her mother fell ill, her father had grown to cherish the time spent with his wife more and more. She hoped they would also love each other like her parents. Shi-Chi promised it would definitely be so. Outside the window, Mr. Chen caught the two children secretly together. In front of Huan's parents, Shi-Chi officially introduced himself as her boyfriend. He apologized for not knowing how to speak up earlier, but he truly liked Huan. He guaranteed that he would definitely take good care of her. Mr. Chen still couldn't contain his anger, feeling that Shi-Chi dared to trick him. Huan saw the tense situation and quickly pushed Shi-Chi away. Mrs. Li thought Shi-Chi was a sincere boy, and moreover, Huan had never made her parents worry since she was little. She blamed her husband for not listening to their daughter's feelings. Mr. Chen burst into tears because it was his first time being a father too. Early the next morning, Mr. Chen aggressively came to find Shi-Chi. He apologized for not being able to control his emotions. He recounted that when Huan was just born, she was like a fragile kitten. To him, his wife and child were the two most important people in his life. So if someone took one of them away, it was hard for him to accept. As an experienced man, he knew that young people often promised a lot but delivered little, and very few people fell in love once and stayed together for life. If the two children loved each other, he agreed to give his blessing, but Shi-Chi had to remember not to bully Huan. If the two no longer loved each other, they had to break up peacefully so that when he passed away someday, Huan would still have a good friend by her side. Uncle Chen, I will definitely take good care of Huan. She is also the most important person in my heart, waiting for her father to go downstairs. Huan couldn't hold back her tears. Mr. Chen gently stroked his beloved daughter's head. Meanwhile, Qi Li told Song Kong that she planned to study abroad. Song Kong supported her because it would be beneficial for her literary creations. However, Qi Li hoped he could stop her, because that would prove he wanted to be part of her future. Song Kong, let's break up. We both pursue freedom, but that freedom is not the same. To be with you, I've changed so much, even losing myself. I'm tired of always chasing after your back. Song Kong understood Qi Li's feelings, because at that very moment, he was also trying to catch up with her. For Qi Li's colorful life, perhaps he was just an ordinary and boring student. Qi Li wanted one last hug, to feel the warmth she had pursued throughout her youth. Time flew by, reaching their third year of university. Hu An was preparing for the direct admission to master's program. Shi Qi reported that he would go to discuss collaboration with Huandao Technology Company. They would invest money for him to develop, and after graduation, he would join the company for them to help expand his team. He was afraid that being busy might mean less time with Huan. She remembered she wasn't that clingy. He knew it was his girlfriend's period today. Shi Qi thoughtfully bought Huan brown sugar water. He revealed that Aunt Li had repeatedly reminded him not to drink cold drinks on this day. Hearing she didn't like the taste of ginger, he forced his girlfriend to drink it all. Huan playfully leaned lightly on her boyfriend. At Huandao Technology, Shi Qi just learned that Senior Fu Ying had introduced him to the company. To thank her, he invited her to dinner. Coincidentally, his girlfriend was coming to find him that evening, so he wanted to bring her along. Zhou Ye questioned Shi Qi if he wasn't afraid Huan would be jealous. He remembered that the school forum once spread a photo of Shi Qi and Fu Ying. Shi Qi affirmed he was completely innocent, and furthermore, Huan wouldn't be jealous without reason. At dinner, Huan arrived a bit late because the distance from school to Huandao Technology was a bit far. Fu Ying thought Shi Qi should rent a place closer to the company, perhaps considering her own apartment complex. Shi Qi was afraid his girlfriend would be jealous, but Huan proactively asked for Fu Ying's landlord's number. She asked the senior what color lipstick she was wearing. Fu Ying chuckled, thinking Huan was asking about her profession. Huan thought girls could do any profession they wanted, the senior could learn programming, and she also learned martial arts. As a result, Shi Qi became an outsider in the conversation. On their way out, Huan told her boyfriend to be a good boy and work hard. Shi Qi swore to the street lamp that he would definitely obey Huan. Seeing his girlfriend still not convinced, he used a kiss to prove it. Bringing documents to the professor, Huan met Tan Qi again. It turned out he was the professor's direct admission master student. After class, Huan helped her boyfriend clean his new house. She was so engrossed in her work that she didn't notice it was past dormitory curfew. Shi Qi hesitantly invited Huan to stay. She could sleep on the bed and he could stay awake to finish his work. Taking Huan to the bathroom, Shi Qi prepared personal toiletries and even lent her some of his clothes. He shyly affirmed that he had no improper intentions, so she could bathe with peace of mind. Due to the unfamiliar bed, Huan tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Shi Qi told her to think about happy things, and she would fall asleep more easily. Huan thought of a small house in the future, with a wall covered in photos, including pictures of them in the past, them in the present, and them in the future. She also wanted to plant a flower garden and raise a small dog. Sure enough, as Shi Qi said, she gradually drifted off to sleep. He gently walked over and kissed her cheek. Huan, just having you is enough? On the occasion of their friends returning to Wuhan, the whole group organized a get-together. Seeing Shi Qi obediently listening to Huan, Xinyan compared time to a medicine that turned the rebellious boy into a henpecked husband. Just then, Li Tan arrived to join the fun. Huan heard he was about to move back to a hospital because his father was a director there. Li Tan complained that even if he wanted life, he still couldn't date like his two friends. He suggested Song Kong and Du Man, being from the same university, could try dating. Their third year of university ended quietly like that. But the farewell note of youth suddenly sounded. Everyone began to face society and the future. At Huandao Technology, Jiang Sen introduced the new team to Shi Qi, all of whom were pillars of the technical department. Shi Qi joyfully welcomed them, but they didn't even bother to shake his hand. Everyone approaching graduation deeply felt that the past 4 years of university life were like a party with the purpose of separation, because once they stepped out of the campus, all the privileges and benefits of students would be lost. No one knew what their future would hold, only occasionally pausing to watch the happy new students on campus and vaguely recalling their beautiful youth. To surprise her boyfriend, Huan wanted to take him to get some nourishing food. She reminded Zhou Ye that he should visit Hui Xin because she was stressed about finding a job. At the restaurant, Shi Qi received a call from his boss, Jiang Sen. He questioned why Shi Qi allowed the new personnel to leave the team. Shi Qi wondered if they weren't working and yet he was expected to serve them. Jiang Sen reminded Shi Qi to ensure the project's launch timeline. Huan thought Shi Qi should use his abilities to make those people respect him. She remembered a scene where Shi Qi, in high school, would always move forward no matter what happened. The next day, Shi Qi decided to express his views to Engineer Kai. He said that the first order for the website was his and his 2 friends' study materials. Inside those old notebooks were not just knowledge, but also memories and dreams. He didn't want those things to vanish with the passage of time. Engineer Kai praised his startup story as very interesting. However, the client didn't pay for that story. Shichi heard that Engineer Kai was promoted only once in 7 years at Huandao, because for the past few years he hadn't had any projects that successfully raised capital. He knew it was a bit unfair that the company assigned him to support a newcomer like himself, but he thought Engineer Kai needed a project to start quickly, and he needed Engineer Kai's technical experience. Only by cooperating could they succeed. Meanwhile, Hu An was overjoyed to be directly admitted to the master's program, but she felt disappointed when her friend had to give up her dream of pursuing a master's degree. Hui Xin had to return to her hometown to find a normal job to earn money to support her younger brother through university. In the blink of an eye, the dormitory members had each gone their separate ways. At the hospital, Song Kong and Du Man witnessed the passing of a patient for the first time. Both carried a heavy heart as they walked back to their rented rooms. Du Man ordered food and invited Song Kong to share it. Du Man confided that she had imagined many times a patient dying right in front of her, but only when she actually experienced it did she realize she had overestimated herself. Song Kong thought time would gradually make them accustomed to the cycle of life. Their turbulent emotions, mixed with the strong scent of alcohol, made both of them lose control. They quickly composed themselves and continued eating noodles. Du Man saw Song Kong off, just as her mother came looking for her. She said she owed someone money and came to ask her daughter for help. Du Man questioned her mother for abandoning her when she was a tiny child. And now, after more than 15 years, she was back asking for money? Her mother blamed her ex-husband's infidelity for her leaving, saying she had no other choice but to ask her daughter for money. Mom, in that brief moment just now, I was very happy because I thought you came to care about me. But you don't deserve to be a mother through the wall. Song Kong had heard Du Man's entire story. Hearing a knock at the door, he decided to go outside. He saw a girl full of hurt. In Wuhan, Hu An successfully defended her graduation thesis. Under the warm candlelight, the 4 girls chatted before parting ways. Hui Xin confided that she was going back to her hometown soon, and would likely have to break up with Zhou Ye. At the graduation ceremony, Huan felt a touch of sadness because Shi-Chi didn't come. She thought he was busy preparing for the project launch, but at the most unexpected moment for Huan, Shi-Chi lifted her up, congratulating his girlfriend on her happy graduation. His appearance put a perfect ending to Huan's university life. With the help of Engineer Kai's team during the final sprint, Shi-Chi completed the project, launching it on schedule. The company leaders highly praised Shi-Chi's capabilities. At the hot pot table, Huan congratulated her boyfriend on his platform, which had already surpassed 500 registrations since its launch. He said the company wanted him to move to the main headquarters in Beijing to continue developing the platform. This was a good opportunity, but he didn't want a long-distance relationship for 3 years. Huan decided to flip a coin. One side was an airplane, one side was a train. She would go with him to the interview regardless. She knew that no matter the outcome, Shi-Chi wanted to try once. Arriving in Beijing, Huan waited downstairs, wishing her boyfriend good luck. The leader invited Shi-Chi to tour the workspace at the main headquarters. He hoped he would think quickly, as many people outside were fiercely competing to get a job there. While in Beijing, Shi-Chi took Huan to meet Song Kong and Du Man. Seeing their friends so close, Du Man wondered when they would get married. Hearing Huan say she wouldn't marry him, Shi-Chi asked her to go outside to save him some face. Upon asking Song Kong, Shi-Chi suddenly discovered that the fate between him and Du Man was truly miraculous. They studied together in high school, then were university friends, and after graduation, even interned at the same hospital. Song Kong affirmed that his mind was only focused on work. Hearing Song Kong ask about him, Shi-Chi confided that Beijing was indeed fertile ground for project development, but he felt Huan was worried about a long-distance relationship. Song Kong thought Huan also hoped Shi-Chi would pursue what he wanted. On their last day in Beijing, Huan told Shi-Chi to stay there, because if he returned to Wuhan, he would surely regret it. She didn't want that regret to stem from her. If he made the wrong choice, they would fix it together. Shi-Chi, we are young and still have plenty of time back in Wuhan. Huan organized her boyfriend's belongings. Hearing her instructions, Shi-Chi remembered his mother arranging his father's luggage for his work transfer. From behind, he hugged his little girl tightly. Huan consoled her boyfriend, but couldn't soothe the longing in his heart. At Huandao Technology, Boss Gong welcomed 3 new employees officially joining the headquarters. He announced that he would expand the project's operations from used book transactions to also selling picture books, audiobooks, and printed books from publishing houses. Meeting Boss Gong privately, Shi-Chi questioned why the plan in the meeting was different from what they had discussed before. Boss Gong said that was the result of market research. Shi-Chi thought that if they kept chasing the market, their website would lose its original unique characteristic. Boss Gong appreciated Shi-Chi's idea, but the company needed product revenue. Shi-Chi asked for a little more time to propose a better solution. Boss Gong agreed to give him half a month. If he didn't perform well, he would have to leave Huandao. During lunch break, Shi-Chi called Hu An. He confided that the company intended to change the website's format, but he didn't want to compromise. Huan believed he would definitely resolve it smoothly. She said she had just met Tan Chi. Since they worked in the same laboratory, they would often see each other. Huan was afraid Chi would mind, but he wasn't that petty. As long as she did her work well, he would always support her. At the laboratory, Huan was given one task after another by a senior named Gao Ang. Hearing him ask her to write a thematic report for him, Huan frankly refused. She thought it was against regulations, and if the professor found out, both of them would be criticized. Tan Chi asked the senior not to be petty with Huan. He would write the report for the senior after he finished his work. Gao Ang reminded him that it was a first-year master's student's job to do. He decided to revoke Tan Chi's eligibility to attend the clinical medicine forum. Huan remembered stepping into university with full of ambitions, but only when she entered the real world did she realize how naive she was then. Society outside was not like home and school, which could tolerate them unconditionally. Everyone had to go through a path of growth with many stumbles, not just in work, but also in relationships. The increasing number of missed calls made her heart even more uncertain. Early in the morning, Chi called Huan. He apologized for being busy with a meeting last night and not noticing her messages. Huan was about to complain of a stomachache when Chi got busy. At the laboratory, Huan suddenly felt dizzy. Fortunately, Tan Chi rushed over to support her. Waking up in the hospital, Huan quickly answered Chi's call. Hearing she had gastritis, he was endlessly worried. Just then, Tan Chi brought porridge for Huan. He told her to eat it all to avoid fainting again. Huan explained to her boyfriend that the senior was also in the laboratory, so he took her to the hospital. Back home, Chi was restless. He ignored the meeting to finalize the plan. He wanted to return to Huan when she needed him most. The next morning, Chi rented a car and drove straight to Wuhan overnight. Arriving at the dormitory, he saw Tan Chi taking Huan back. Facing his rival, Chi thanked the senior for taking care of his girlfriend, but said that if a similar situation happened again, he didn't need Tan Chi to interfere. Tan Chi wondered if Chi loved Huan. Then why didn't he know she was sick? If he couldn't be by Huan's side when she was in trouble, then Chi wasn't qualified to prevent others from caring for her. Meanwhile, Huan received a call from Gao Ang. He told her to pack her bags for a field survey tomorrow. Huan wanted to postpone for a few days, but he threatened to remove her name from the specialized group. Receiving a message from Chi, Huan quickly ran down to meet him. Hearing Chi hadn't finished his project yet, Huan urged him to go back to work. Chi wondered if she didn't want him to visit. Huan explained she was afraid of messing up his work. Huan, I don't want to be the last one to know you're sick. I also don't want Tan Chi to be the one picking you up and dropping you off. Chi. Huan was disappointed because Chi was doubting her. She questioned if he would have come to visit her if Tan Chi hadn't been there. Chi, do you know how long it's been since we had a decent phone call? I also don't want to see your activities on Senior Fu Ying's WeChat newsfeed. Yes, Huan, I'm under enough pressure trying to finish my work to come back to you, but as soon as I came back, I saw Tan Chi taking you back to the dorm. And when we met, your first sentence was to tell me to leave today. Huan asked Chi to be more mature. Not just him, she was also very tired. Every day she went to class and did experiments, and tomorrow she even had to go for a survey on the mountain. Just then, Fu Ying called to report on the work progress. Huan urged Chi to go back to work. She knew the website was very important to him. She also had to go back and pack her things. The next day, Chi heard the radio report about a storm and heavy rain in some areas. He was worried but couldn't reach Huan. He had no choice but to call Tan Chi to ask for Huan's survey address. On his way to find Huan, Chi called Fu Ying, telling her he had sent the new plan via message and she and Zhou Ye should present it to the leadership. It started raining on the mountain. Huan quickly packed up her experiment samples. Going to find Huan, Chi heard Gao Ang say she went up the mountain to collect experiment samples, and there had been no news since. Chi questioned why they made her go up the mountain when a storm was coming. He frantically ran to find her. Huan! Huan! In the misty rain, Chi realized this was the same mountain that had consumed his father. His father's voice suddenly echoed in his ears. Chi, you've worked hard these past few years. Now you've truly grown up. A hand grasped Chi's, and Huan's face appeared before his eyes. When the rain stopped, they built a fire on the mountain to keep warm. Since there was no phone signal, they had to wait until morning to descend the mountain. Huan said this hut was a supply point for collecting experiment samples. She gave Chi a sample of soil and plants from the previous fire. Brother Huan, you shouldn't be angry with me. These past few days, you've been thinking about why you came to Beijing. For a whole month, you were busy, forgetting to eat and sleep, but your heart felt empty. When I was in Wuhan, I loved 6:30 p.m. the most. I just needed to take the subway and 3 bus rides to meet you. But when I came to Beijing, no bus ride could take me back to your side anymore. Chi. After you left, Wuhan suddenly felt unfamiliar to me. However, I'm still very happy because my heart holds your image. You're always quietly supporting me from behind. Perhaps in others' eyes, you're a bit unreliable. but in my eyes, those very unreliable things are what I need. So thank you for letting me meet you, Huan. I love you, Shi-Chi. I love you too. Early the next morning, Shi-Chi walked through rows of trees and touched the tallest tree trunk. He thought that whenever the wind blew, the rustling of each leaf was a farewell his father didn't get to say. Finally, they would gather to become the gentlest strength, helping him not to be immersed in the past and not to fear the road ahead. Back in Beijing, Shi-Chi saw Zhou Ye packing his belongings. Fu Ying thought that no matter how good the plan was, the superiors wouldn't approve it, because Huan Dao was very professional, and every project was related to the company's future. They couldn't change just for the ideas of newcomers. Fu Ying said she had already been promoted to department director, but she wanted to stay with her colleagues to fulfill a romantic dream. Finally, Shi-Chi decided to return to his hometown with Zhou Ye because he didn't share the same views as Huan Dao technology. Fu Ying wished her two juniors an early success in finding their suitable paths. Meanwhile, Gao Ang accidentally opened an old data report but didn't notice. The professor questioned how much he participated in this experiment. Huan bravely spoke up, saying the data was all done by her and Tan Chi. The professor allowed Huan to present the specialized topic in place of Gao Ang. After the presentation, Huan called to report to her boyfriend. Hearing she wanted to treat herself, he asked for an extra pair of chopsticks. Huan, I'm back. Shi-Chi said he had resigned from Huan Dao. From now on, he would have to rely on his girlfriend to support him. Hearing he rented the old room again, Huan wanted to go pack her things to move in with her boyfriend. Back in the rented room, Huan was taking a shower when the electricity went out. Shi-Chi quickly lit a candle and then excused himself to go outside. Huan was a little scared, so she asked him to stay a bit longer. Under the candlelight, Huan continuously called Shi-Chi's name. The days they spent apart made her cherish the moments they had together even more. Shi-Chi, we've come full circle, Huan. We're finally back together. At the group meeting, everyone admired Shi-Chi and Huan, still as affectionate as when they first fell in love. Seeing the ring on Li Tan's finger, everyone realized he had just gotten engaged. Xinyan wondered if Song Kong and Du Man, working in the same hospital, still hadn't ignited a spark of romance. Both affirmed that they were teammates and close neighbors. Just then, Qili returned to visit her friends. She announced that she was about to publish her first book and had just started dating. The whole group began reminiscing about old memories, exposing innocent crushes and unjustified quarrels. Qili asked her friends if they were living the life they wanted. Everyone fell into contemplation. Huan and Shi-Chi were both content to have each other. Li Tan was satisfied with his current life. Song Kong and Du Man were temporarily stable. Xinyan passed her civil service exam as she wished. Qili believed that life was like a blank sheet of paper. We draw whatever colors we like on it, and it becomes our own painting. Shi-Chi invited his friends to visit his house. It turned out, he still kept the video from when they were 18, which each person sent to their future self. Li Tan apologized to the young man from back then for giving up English literature, but he was very satisfied with his current life. He realized that besides his dream path, there were many other paths to take. When it was Qili's turn, her past self asked if she had met her mother's expectations in the future. Qili smiled because her mother gradually understood her, and her life was decided by herself. To Du Man, she told herself that she had found new friends, and among her old classmates, her busy internship work filled her loneliness. Facing a Xinyan who put love above all else, she said she had tasted enough of love's sweet and bitter flavors, and now she could fully dedicate herself to her career. But as for Song Kong, growing up meant accepting his own ordinariness. He was ready to bid farewell to his former top-ranked self. Huan in the past was still uncertain about defining her future goals, but the current her was content just having the people she loved by her side. Perhaps friends can only accompany us for a short distance, but our lives become more complete because of these short distances. Those who once appeared in our lives will become a part of our souls, accompanying us throughout the rest of our journey. This is where the story ends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to not miss out on more amazing videos. For now, goodbye and until next time.